All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's Hassan season, guys. Okay, sorry, I'm not even necessarily looking forward to doing this segment. Well, I'm actually interested in it. It's like a lot of Hassan, but that's how things happen. There's an ebb and a flow, and we are currently ebbing. So, this is a video from Dylan Burns. He's a pretty interesting dude. Basically, I believe he's been in Ukraine for a while, and he interviewed some Ukrainians who used to be Hassan fans. That are very frustrated with his basically Russian apologia. So, for taking over their country. So we're gonna watch it. Okay, let's get it going. And I know some people. I'm not going to talk too much about Israel-Palestine in this, but I'm sure people will draw parallels. The one big one will be like, well, how come you think that Ukraine can defend themselves from being taken over, but not Palestine? It's like, well, because that happened 80 years ago, right? We don't live in the perfect world. We kind of are where we are right now. You know, I think that obviously we need a two-state solution in Israel, Palestine, but you can't just oust like the 10 million people that live or so that live in Palestine or Israel. So kind of have to figure out where we are. It's been 80 years, right? That being said, this is a little different, right? These people are still there. So we're in a very modern time where we have very established boundaries. We shouldn't be letting people, especially Russia, take over other countries. So let's get this party started, baby.
Hi, my name's Dylan Burns, and I just got back from Eastern Ukraine. I was out there filming with artillery crews supporting the Zaporozhye counteroffensive, as well as a separate artillery crew.
Hey, I'm an on-the-ground reporter, guys. Says Hassan.
The Donetsk region from Russian advances.
Yeah, I know. Dylan posted a video responding to Hassan's response. Yeah, I got that. I got that in the queue too. Don't worry. So let's go.
I got a lot of incredible footage, including them working, them receiving counter-battery fire, talking to them about their personal lives.
I'm just a professional hater, dude.
Why they do what they do, living in a dugout 24/7, as well as a whole host of other topics.
Like a football player?
I'm really excited to share that footage with you guys, but that's not today. Today, we need to talk about a different topic, and that's inclusion. Specifically, including Ukrainians in conversations about their own country. Anytime I turn on cable news, anytime I turn on the radio, anytime I open up a newspaper, I see conversations happening everywhere about Ukraine. But Ukrainians are not often included in those conversations. And that's not just true of cable news, it's also—
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. You know, let's be real. I stand with Ukraine. They're an ally. They want our help. They want to help uphold our Western values of, you know, freedom for all groups of people. Are they perfect? No, of course. None of our allies are. We are, though. No, but none of our allies are. But it is. Let's not pretend that there isn't also an aspect to this from an American, not an American perspective, but like the American political American perspective. That a lot of this is politicized. We see another country that allows us to stop Russia's influence spreading on the world, and that is a reason why we support them. And the media is more interested in what America has to gain out of this situation than what, you know, Ukrainians have to gain out of the situation. So that is true as well.
Also true of alternative media sources as well. I'm talking Twitch and YouTube. And on Twitch, there's one king in political conversation, and that's Hasan. And he's talked quite a lot about the war in Ukraine. But I have not seen many conversations with him talking to Ukrainians on his platform. So
yeah, he doesn't really talk to people in general.
I thought
he started to. You know, we talked to Piers Morgan, but
due to the fact that many of his conversations had not included Ukrainian perspectives, maybe it could benefit from a Ukrainian perspective. So we gathered 4 people of varying political backgrounds from all across Ukraine, including one former Hasan fan, to talk about what Hassan has said about the war.
Oh my God, what has he got, a mental disorder? A former fan? What the frick? What are you talking about?
Include them in the conversation. Now, this isn't a total list of everything Hassan has ever said that they reacted to. We picked what clips that they saw based upon what moments could best benefit from a Ukrainian perspective. And so if we didn't include your most favorite Hasan moment, we're very sorry. I wanted to include, for example, when Hassan talked about right sector snipers killing Euromaidan protesters, but we only could keep them for 2 hours, and I didn't want to have them there for 5 hours answering every single clip that Hassan has ever said about the war. So just understand that we could only do so much for practicality's sake and out of respect for the people that we brought to react to. I hope in the future when we talk about countries, we include people from those countries in the conversation more, whether it be Ukraine, Taiwan, Vietnam, Korea, Mexico, Canada, Iraq, or wherever it is. Let's include the people who actually have to live there.
Yeah, I want to hear some people from Hamas and Israel as well. Sure, or not Hamas. Yeah. Israel, Palestine, and Israel as well. That'd be interesting. I'd be down with the round for that.
Conversations on how that country should be treated and what the future of that country will be. Thank you very much for the video. So let's start by going around the room and everybody introducing themselves. Let's start from the left-hand corner of the room over here.
No, I'm Anna, Anastasia. I'm Ukrainian Anna on Twitter. I'm a volunteer. I live in Kharkiv and work mostly in Kharkiv. I also work with Dylan here to do interviews, subtitles, things like that. Work with journalists, go to the front lines, things like that. So yeah, that's me.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so I'm Rick the Ukrainian. I stream on YouTube. I also dub the interviews with Russian prisoners of war made by Zolkin and Karpenko. All rights belong to them. And also I am initially from Makivka, which is Donetsk neighboring city, and I lived in occupation, and I know that shit myself. So here I am. I also raise money for the armed forces of Ukraine. That's what I do. Thank you.
Hey, what's up? My name is Ivan. They picked me up on the street just now. I'm kidding. I don't have a platform. I don't stream. I have a Twitter, I guess. I'm from Western Ukraine, and I was involved in politics since like 2003 when I was a little kid. I was watching the news and all of that, and I'm familiar with Hassan since 2018, 2019. So I felt betrayed by him.
Let's get to the next question.
He wanted to take it off.
Yeah, he was already going on the questions. I appreciate the eagerness.
Here's the moderation.
I'm Thompson. I stream on Kick, and
Kick.
I just cover the war. The reason I'm on Kick because we watch everything unfiltered. Russians exploding to bits, my favorite type of stuff.
Okay, Jesus. Okay.
Of course, supporting armed forces of Ukraine, and yeah, that's what I do.
Okay, so I know that some people in this room don't
Does this person talk with Destiny a lot? Okay, interesting. Oh god, Destiny's grooming everybody.
have too much familiarity with Hassan's content, and some people in this room do have familiarity with Hassan's content. Okay, let's go around the room and see what familiarity everybody has.
It's my favorite. I love his
you've
content.
brought Hassan up before in an interview before on my channel.
Yes. So basically, I discovered there's such a thing as political streamers and YouTubers when this war thing started in February, and I wanted to see what people are saying in the West. Will they support us? Will they not support us? What's their opinions about the situation? And I stumbled upon a bunch of people like Tucker Carlson type of people, but also Hassan, who is a little bit famous. And
Yeah, like he is a Tucker Carlson type of person. Yeah, let's be honest, dude. They're both relatively smart. They're both pushing a narrative. They both lie. Yeah, sure.
because of that, I was very enraged of what I heard of him saying about Ukraine, specifically about Russian speakers and specifically about Eastern Ukraine and all of that.
What part of Ukraine are you from?
I'm from the East, Kharkiv. I was born there and I live there now. So yeah, I mentioned to Dylan Burns, I mentioned that I hate what he said, basically, and I was very offended by it.
Oh, you mean justifying Russia genociding a bunch of Ukrainians through starving them out and then trying to take over that land, and Hassan saying that they have a land claim to that? That's what they did. The Russian government starved out a bunch of Ukrainians, I believe in the Crimea area, and then that's when they were invading. So this is what happened. They starved a bunch of Ukrainians out, killed millions of them, and then said, hey, we have a claim to this land. And then Hassan's like, yeah, they do have a claim to that land because there's lots of Russians there because they implanted a bunch of Russians there after they, starved a bunch of people out. So, yeah.
Going into this, you already know going into this that you disagree with
Yes, pretty much, yeah.
Could I ask you, Topson?
Yeah, I didn't watch a lot of Hassan's content because it's very painful. However, I am familiar with some of his takes. I don't think I watched it out of context, so I'm not sure that I'm pretty sure I'm not misrepresenting anything. I don't agree with what he says. I don't believe Hassan even agrees with what he says. I feel like he's a big grifter, and he just, he's successful, and it's a big grift for him. So
yeah, I feel like that one of the ways to get successful, man, is by grifting. It's tough, you know what I mean? Tough out there. Gotta lie. Hey, you gotta lie sometimes. Gotta get that bag, baby.
His fans listen to him, which
just
is
kidding.
Probably the worst
never
part
lie.
of that community.
I'm just wrong to lie.
Okay, so that would say that you two are definitely in the I'm not a huge fan of Hassan crowd going into this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go to
I got the total opposite take on that. What?
not the opposite end of the spectrum, but a different part of the spectrum because I wanted to get diverse opinions in on this. You actually used to be a fan of Hassan's content, is that correct?
That is correct. Yes, I was watching Hassan since like 2018, 2019. He actually made me not think that leftist is a dirty word. I was like swayed from liberal to leftist by Hassan. I became more pro-worker and all of that, and I felt extremely betrayed when he took the side of the fascists, or like pretended to consider both sides and all of that.
Yeah, because he got called out on this Crimea take, and he's doubled down on it since. He keeps saying that there's like a land claim there. It's kind of annoying.
I was really hoping that Hassan would, I guess, analyze the situation about the Ukrainian war and maybe think about it, but now he just
The only thing Hassan analyzes is how his chat reacts to what he says.
Yes.
So,
Oh, dude, they're throwing snub, dude.
Oh, sorry. That's not.
So you would say that
Get him.
you say as a fan that the war made you no longer enjoy his content or watch his content?
I can't watch his content. Sometimes I watch like a podcast with Ethan to see Ethan.
The Leftovers podcast?
The Leftovers podcast. Yeah, to hear his bad takes, maybe to hate watch it, and to commend Ethan Klein for actually challenging him and doing it.
Wow, dude, Ethan's getting popular off the back of Hassan for Hassan's bad takes. Holy moly!
Pretty well for a person who doesn't know that much about the concept.
Ethan
So
deserves
props to
to know
Ethan.
more.
Yeah.
I
Based.
definitely need to listen to you.
So you will later. We have close to that.
Also,
Rick, are you familiar with Hassan's content? Have you ever watched his stream? Anything before today's interview?
no, I see him for the first time. I'm gonna see him for the first time. I mean, not
Damn.
him, but his videos, right?
This guy's got a mask on. What a goober, am I right? I'm just kidding.
And no, so it's gonna be just a clean sheet.
Okay.
I don't know anything about him.
So since you're the only one in here who hasn't seen him before, I should say this, and for the people who aren't familiar at home, Hasan is a socialist Twitch streamer. He's the most popular Twitch streamer who covers politics on the platform. He gets quite a lot of viewers, both on YouTube and on Twitch.
Well, yeah, I mean, listen, there's a lot of reasons why he gets a lot of viewers. One of them is because he's handsome. I think another one is because he's in so much controversy constantly, that because he's lying, and people really like controversy. So that's a big part of it too. It's astounding how many fans I have that there's a crossover. I feel bad for those fans because you guys have to learn to read people better because he's not a good person.
I don't know if it's true of every single online political commentator, but he is often referred to as the most popular political streamer. Period. So the most popular political streamer. So that's why I wanted to bring you guys around today to see the type of commentary that we're getting from this person and to react to it. Okay, so here's a picture of him. You guys have been looking at it for long enough. So let's move on to the first clip. So Hasan leading up into the war, we're talking about mid-February, he started increasing the amount he was talking about the war in Ukraine. Before then, he didn't really talk about it much, if ever.
Yeah, it's because he's breaking news for politics, and it's fine to watch news and give commentary on news, even if it's like very fresh. But he speaks with an absolute authority on everything, and that's why he's constantly getting in trouble. I watched him on. When he talked to Piers Morgan, he's like, I don't usually do the breaking news. That's pretty much all he does is he sits there and he'll do breaking news type content when there's breaking news to be had. So I don't know why he would even say that. And you can do it. You just need to make sure that you are responsible about it. That's pretty much it.
But as
Thank you. I look so cute and submissive sometimes. Thank you.
The war became closer, he started to talk about predictions from the American government that the Russians would invade. And I wanted to show you guys a few highlights of that to show you.
Oh, yeah. He was like, they'll never invade. They'll never invade. Which, I mean, I guess I get. I guess I don't know. I mean, I guess we would have thought we're beyond to get that, but still, I mean, it seems kind of stupid to say something like that.
When the first
fuck my balls.
critiques from some Ukrainians came forward for Hassan. Now, I don't want to focus on this for too long because this is somewhat old news, obviously, but I felt like if I didn't include this, I'd be leaving out some vital context of the history of his commentary on the war.
What's up, folks? I'm live and alive, and we got a lot to talk about. I was right about Ukraine. That's right. War is not imminent. Oh, shocked to find out. Anyway, we're going to talk about that and a bunch of other stuff, so get in now. Possibly a new React series as well, so...
Is this like something he does regularly, or was he just kind of experimenting with plugging himself on Twitter? Because that was the most cringe shit I've ever seen.
Don't miss it. I think maybe I'll tell my editors to do this, but I think I'll just change I'll change this every day to Ukraine has still not been invaded by Russia every day to make sure that the wishes of these fucking weirdo
It's interesting because, and I'm even guilty of this. This isn't necessarily a criticism on Hassan, but we all, there's such a disconnect when you talk about these topics when you're not somebody that's, is particularly super impacted by it. You know what I mean? Because it's there's no war in this country that, they're experiencing the horrific nature of the world every day. It's it's like sport. We're like sports betting without any real stakes, except people say, "Wow, what a smart guy!" instead of get money. You know what I mean? I don't know if I've ever done it to the Hassan degree, but it is something interesting to consider. Isn't that concerning?
I'm actually a sock dam, and you're a fucking tanky idiots on the internet. Will, yeah, change it to Russia still has yet to invade Ukraine. And it's day 11 at this point.
$5.
Thanks,
so
dude.
Smart, papa.
Thanks, man. Thank you, bro. I love you.
You know what I mean? Time again, that I don't think there is war that is going to happen because it would fucking destroy Russia. And I still believe that.
and they're kind of getting their asses handed to them. So.
Still believe that.
That's true.
Okay?
Yeah.
I like the part where he says, I was right about Ukraine. I bet he never repeated those words ever again.
let me go off on that. Yeah.
Right.
The best part is somewhere there. I remember this clip. I actually saw this one, the first one I saw.
Okay, there's a few more clips where he's predicting before the war. Let's finish those, and then we'll have a moment to talk about it.
You care more about being like, yo, Hassan, but you were fucking wrong. I hope you all get drafted, dude. Wait, hey. I hope you get
Okay.
fucking drafted.
Hey, are we going to war?
No, but I hope they fucking drop your bitch ass, your fucking pasty little bitch ass into fucking Luhansk, okay? To defend Ukrainian sovereignty and its fucking borders, you dipshit. I don't want Ukrainians to fucking die. Okay?
Based, I guess.
But you can.
So those are the clips of him predicting what was going to happen with the war. Do you guys have any initial reactions to his predictions about if the war
I feel like it's just like ridiculous. It just makes them look stupid. It's not like
was going to happen?
Oh, yeah. So I think it's the funniest thing to listen now in year 23 in, what the hell is it, September? Yeah, so, it's very fun. He was so convinced that the war was not gonna happen and so smug about it. And also the most interesting thing about him in that case is that he continued to talk about it. If I was him, after this blunder, I would crawl under the bed and never speak about geopolitics ever again. But not this guy. He continued to, double down, triple down. And yeah, it's very interesting.
Baby.
I wish
Hell yeah, baby. Just like a true American. Am I right? Haha, double down when you're wrong, baby.
I had this self-confidence, but...
I feel like the biggest contributor to his statement there is what America said, because America predicted what's going to happen, and he believes that, like, every question...
Oh, did they? Well, that's just... Then you know what it is. Hassan is always just anti-West, anti-America. So if America says we're going to war, Hassan says we're not. If America says... defend this person, Hassan says no. That's why Hassan will completely drink the fluids of the Chinese government. Oh, they're so good. They made so much growth. They're doing so well, blah, 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 blah. Oh, but Americans not being able to pee at Amazon, that's travesty. It is a bad thing, but it's worse in China. Downplay like Uyghur Muslims being put in camps. Which is happening. Listen to the way that he talks about these topics. There's a different, when he's saying something anti-America, he's so strong about it. But when he's saying something that might make an anti-America point look bad, he's like, he kind of like dances. He's like, yeah, that's bad. Yeah, it's kind of bad that they're doing that. You know what I mean? But we need our own camps in America for capitalists. It's like, okay.
Everything that Hassan says, just look through the prism, is America bad? And it's always yes for him. So America said something, but America is bad, therefore they're wrong. Therefore, I'm going to take the complete opposite position.
To add just a little bit, he also mentions like people being hawks, people like, war drumming and being like dipshits about it. He basically says like, you people are like making this up, like that you can't trust Western, like...
Hassan said most of these are out of context, but 3 of them watched Hassan and saw these clips before. Yeah, they're not out of context. I don't know why you would say they're. I think you're a troll. You're trolling. You're trolling me. They're not out of context. I remember them happening.
Like civilian, Western like intel, you can't trust that, and Russia will not like do that. So how could Russia do that?
Even though Russia did that.
Yeah. Russia did that with Moldova. Russia did that with Georgia. Russia did that in 2014. Russia, with Ukraine. Russia did that all over the place. But
hey,
no,
Russia
would
sinks.
not do such a silly thing. It's only the United States that does human, evil, imperialist.
And U.S. intelligence has a good track record of being wrong.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't a prediction by the U.S. It was like actual intel, and there was actual information. Actually, before the invasion, I was coping. I believed that they wouldn't invade because it's too much for them. They would make a bite they couldn't swallow. So I agree with Hassan on the take. They wouldn't invade because it.
Well, yeah, I mean, it does make sense in that sense that like Russia. I mean, they're getting dumpstered. They're the weakest superpower. It's like, why even bother trying? Why don't you kind of save it up? Store a little bit of that Russian power. Maybe you'll be able to do something with it later,
Would destroy Russia. It is destroying Russia.
Yeah, he also makes it seem like people who are saying that invasion will happen as if they want the war.
Yeah.
Which is a very silly thing because people are saying like, this will happen, you need to be prepared, you need to know that this is going to happen. And instead of that, he presents those people as if they're like, he even calls them like names, people who say that they are like fuckers who just want like the blood of Ukrainians or some shit. When people were genuinely saying like, this is 100% gonna happen. And it's not only, by the way, Americans, British intel also tell this. So yeah, it's very
our intelligence was saying.
Yeah, our intelligence was saying.
Someone like Hassan might say in response to that, like, well, but America with the weapons of mass destruction and all of the times the CIA has lied or America has lied in this way. And so do you think there's any validity in him being as suspicious or reacting the way he was through a perspective of being suspicious of America?
I don't think so, because there's not a single intelligence in the world that always says the truth. They're intelligence. There's not a single government that was 100% correct on all of the things that they've been saying. But if you're going to compare both sides, like how many times Russia have lied? Every time they're saying something. Like if
What?
you trust in one source.
Are you saying that Vladimir Putin on that bear was a lie, dude? What? Are you saying that when Vladimir Putin beat the entire Russian hockey team, that was a lie? What the fuck, dude? My whole world.
Over the other.
My world!
You should show something like
My world
why
is
you
crashing
did
and
that.
crumbling down
It's
around
only
me.
emotional for him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
as Hassan was saying what he was saying, the Russian media and the Russian diplomats were pulling the line about the Ukrainian weapons of mass destruction, the birds
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah,
the chemical
bioweapons.
bioweapons
Yeah.
that target Russian genes, despite most of Ukrainians having a lot of Russian genes. We're not a ethno state. You know?
Yeah, my mom's Russian.
Yeah, this is the same. There's the same bullshit excuse and to invade as the U.S. used against Iraq, but he was he neglected to mention that, I believe.
It's just, of course, every country, like every government, every intel organization, lies to some extent. But just we can't both side this. You can't compare this to especially when you have precedents of Russia doing this in recent years, not like in 50 years or half a century ago, right? But like I said, Moldova, Georgia,
2008,
Ukraine, it's all happened recently. And where is the surprise? Where is the surprise in them lying and doing the invasions and annexations and occupations and war crimes and all of that? There's no surprise there. My parents are from Georgia originally, so I knew a lot about that. So yeah, it's just people just don't know or don't care. I don't know what his deal is, but
What's wrong with NATO expansion?
Yeah, again, I really I can't explain it. I can't explain Hassan's take on Ukraine, and how it's so weird. Where he's like, okay, it has to be anti-American. I mean, or it has to be anti-West. It doesn't make any sense. He hates West so much, even though he benefits from it so much. I'm at a point now where I'm convinced that Hassan is a fucking psyop. I'm convinced that he's a fucking plant that's meant to destroy America from the inside by just lying about shit. Because it's fucking insane, the things that he'll say.
Expansion, the majority population voted in favor. Would that mean NATO expansion is justified? In that circumstance, NATO is 1,000% an aggressor outside fucking force. Okay.
NATO is an aggressive outside force. I don't understand. You're somebody who says punch a Nazi and criticize NATO, but NATO, the idea is to basically punch Nazis. No? Yeah, are there things to criticize? For sure. Of course. Any influential figure, there's things to criticize. But we're talking about the aspect that is meant to stop oppressive forces. And, Western culture, that usually comes with more acceptance of the people that live there. I understand the colonization argument, criticize where it needs to be criticized. But why wouldn't you want to maintain countries? I understand that it might be an aggressor in the sense where it might provoke Russia. That's why they can't officially join NATO. But I mean, I don't understand, why wouldn't you want to spread the influence, the positive influence and positive aspects of America? Freedom of speech, LGBTQ rights, et cetera, et cetera. It just doesn't make any sense to me why you'd be so anti-America. It's so weird. Hate us all you want. America is the reason why there's freedom in the world, in the countries that there's freedom. I mean, yes, again, there are bad stuff. I understand that, but Jesus Christ.
Okay? Russia is not. Russia annexing its own fucking territory that it's had. That it's all
Annexing its own territory. They genocided. They starved out Ukrainians to implant Russians and then said, this is ours now.
territory full of its own fucking people is not the same as NATO being like, we're going to turn your country into a fucking base and put literal fucking military bases and rockets into.
And again, you might say, well, what's the difference? Well, because Israel's just trying to get, or Hamas, because one of the points I say is historically Israel has been a Jewish territory. It's yeah, but it is now. That's what it we kind of are where we are now. Yes, there are Russians there now, but for Russia to justify taking over, no. They genocided people. They should pay for those war crimes. Hassan doesn't seem to be too keen on that. But they shouldn't be able to take more land. Doesn't make any fucking sense. Why would you want a power grab from an oppressive government?
Country.
One of the biggest criticisms I have of some modern day conservatives is that they jerk off Russia. They seem to like Russia more than us. There was a whole big period of that for a while. like at the beginning of the year, and it was like, what the fuck happened? You know what I mean? Like, what the hell's going on here? It's fucking crazy.
So if you don't, the date here is the 21st of February. For those of you who don't remember, because it's just so much has happened with this war, that was 3 days before the invasion, but it was the same day that Russia formally annexed Donetsk and Luhansk. And so that is what he's talking about right now. And that's what he's saying, that, expansion of NATO would make them the aggressor in the situation.
Can we?
Yeah, you can respond.
Yeah, we can jump on that shit. The worst offensive thing, and it's its own territory. Excuse me, what is Ukraine even? So this is the imperialist talk for supposedly anti-imperialist leftists who is like all about fighting colonialism and imperialism when only the West does it. But here he basically claims that the territories that are officially, legally, in all senses recognized as Ukraine is Russia annexing its own territory with its own people. Who are its own people?
Well, he's obviously not anti-imperialist, right? Because
he claims he is.
Well, he claims a lot of things, but he claims he cares about Ukrainian lives too, which I don't think is true. But he was like, what? I remember at some point he had a USSR flag in the back of his...
in the hat.
In the back of his, yeah. So like...
yeah, well, because he's just like a trendy communist kind of a thing. And I guess that's communism. I don't know.
USSR, which is, imperialistic,
yes.
was grabbing all of the countries around, and every country that was part of USSR except Russia hates anything connected to that. Wonder why? Like, that was not the best part of the history. And Russia is desperately trying to restore that. They have anti-NATO rhetoric because NATO is the only thing that can actually stop them. The countries join NATO in response to what Russia is doing in the regions, and everyone just feels more and more uneasy. And this is democratic process. People want to be protected. Because look, we really wanted to be part of NATO precisely for this reason, and we weren't in the NATO, and they still invaded. Right? If not, Russia is saying that they're reacting to NATO expansionism, then why don't they invade NATO countries? Because they can, and that's what we wanted for ourselves.
Also, can we appreciate that he basically said that NATO, with the agreement of the people, NATO placing bases there is worse than Russia literally annexing, occupying, and chunking off.
The fucking. Ukrainians who want NATO influence to be protected, they're the bad guys. But Russia wanting to steal other territories, those guys are fucking based, dude.
There's other countries.
Those guys are based.
Yes, it's just insanity. What Russia does is like old school imperialism, like back in the day imperialism, and he somehow misses that.
Well, he would say that he doesn't, and this is something he does say on multiple occasions, that he doesn't support the invasion, and that he doesn't like the Russian government because he thinks that they're authoritarian and very...
Yeah, that's all fine and good that he says those things, but if you fall for it, then you're stupid. He will say a lot of things to try to push off criticism, but he doesn't believe that. That's why he downplays the bad shit that like the Russian government does, because he doesn't really feel that way. He pretends to feel that way, but he doesn't really feel that way. It's a fucking game to him.
Like nationalistic and extremely conservative.
But he seems for that.
Yeah, but then he starts to parrot the rhetoric and protect them.
They never support Russia. They all say, yeah, the invasion is bad, I don't support it, but we have to look at both sides, Ukrainians aren't saints either, and also America aren't saints. But he was saying the NATO, grabbing territories and whatnot, and put in their actual military bases, and I'm like, yes, please, put the bases in.
Yeah, that's actually...
we need the bases. Military bases were not strong enough.
It seems like the more people we have from other countries on our territory, the less that part is getting shelled. Yep. Like, I believe recently there was a whole swath of foreign ministers in Kiev. It was like a whole assembly, not a single siren.
I wanted to ask Rick quickly, because you are from Eastern Ukraine as well, originally Donetsk, if I remember correctly. Donetsk region, not Donetsk. Sorry.
Makivka is actually a neighbor city of Donetsk, so they're like one big city.
So, would you consider yourself somebody that was displaced from there when you left, that you left in part because of the occupation?
Of course, only because of the occupation. Because
so the only reason that you left was because you were displaced then?
Yes, because I actually lived in occupation, and I know how it is to live under the new Soviet Union, because it is. Because they use all those methods of propaganda, of agitation, of, the human rights violation. Yeah, they actually do all that stuff and even more. And the question was?
My question was, what do you think about when you hear those territories, Donetsk and Luhansk, referred to as, Russian people, the people that are still there, as their lands?
It's actually, it was the territory of Ukraine for the last 30 years, and it still is. Donetsk is Ukraine, and saying that Russia is grabbing their territories is a total bullshit, because they are grabbing the territories of Soviet Union, the empire that actually has collapsed, And this is all bullshit. People there identify themselves as Ukrainians, especially my generation. We wanted to stay in Ukraine, and if you didn't know that, half of the population of Donbass left.
Yeah, but you're not supposed to listen to what people say that like live somewhere. You're just supposed to listen to a person you don't like and just have the anti-take of what they say.
To Ukraine.
These guys don't
actually
even
millions, 2 million people registered, only registered.
This guy's serious?
Or displaced, sorry, the words. They actually had the Ukrainian position. At least half of the people didn't want to stay there.
For the record, if Ukraine was to take back Donetsk, would you go back?
I guess yes, but probably, to be honest, not in the first few years, because there's going to be an adaptation period, an integration period of those people who lived under Russian propaganda for 9 years.
Let's pretend for seconds I hate Ukraine. I don't like it. I don't want to live here. I don't like the culture. Yeah. I don't like any about it. I want to live in, let's trigger everyone, in France. The best place, right? So I want to go there. And I don't invite French people to occupy and tear a piece of Ukraine I'm living in. For me to live in France. What a reasonable person would do, they will migrate. They will move. This is what Russians do. They ask for people, for Putin to invade wherever they are, because they just want to...
Well, no, like Putin will strategically genocide people. He'll starve them out. He'll implant Russians, and then he'll waiting for them. Then he will engage with them with propaganda that they own the land and it should be Russian. And then they will say, "Hey, we want the land now." It's just a tactic from Russia. But I guess it's okay because it's not America.
The place they currently live in to become Russia. No, never mind what everyone else wants. This me talking about separatists and genuine like pro-Russian people in the eastern regions, for example, right? So this is not how it works. And I would also like to add the fact that Hassan here basically called me and Rick specifically literally Russians in that way. He called us Russians just because we are from the Russified areas that were
forcefully. But that's Russian propaganda, right?
Yes, exactly. Thank you. That's where I'm going. It's the repeating of Russian narrative because that's what Russians do. They say those people are Russians. They speak Russian. That means they're Russian. They're part of the Russian world. This is the imperialism, colonialism that this guy supposedly hates.
I remember a clip recently showcased on the internet by a military man, Ukrainian military. And
maybe we should take Russia and Ukraine. I agree. It shouldn't be the United States of America. It should be the United States of the world. We should take over everything. All of it.
He showed that Russians occupied a village, and the first thing they did is they renamed the village from Ukrainian name into Russian name. Like they weaponized the language, and they basically, and that's part of what happens, right, in the eastern regions. And I'm sure you remember that there was a heavy push on Russian language, getting rid of Ukrainian language, and they're really, how many Ukrainian schools there are in Russia? 0. And they're pushing this thing with their language, with their culture, because then it is easier to let it grab.
Yes, that's what they did historically. They destroyed Russification was the which Hassan perhaps doesn't know. In eastern Ukraine, most people speak Russian, not because they chose to, not because they wanted to, but it was not a choice, it was a political action started in Russian Empire days and continued to the Soviet Union as well. So schools were Russified, everything was in Russian. If you spoke Ukrainian, you were like pointed fingers at, called rural, unintelligent, dumb.
There's a bunch of movies from Soviet times where Ukrainian language is being laughed at, like if you're speaking Ukrainian.
You will not get a decent job. For example, my father didn't know Russian when he came to Kharkiv, and he had to learn it because he would never get a decent job whatsoever without knowing the Russian language. Without speaking Russian, you are not seen as a proper person.
I want to go to, he had a question as well. Yeah. This is a good question for him. You want to ask it?
So, by a count of hands, how many of you grew up speaking Russian?
Damn.
Kinda.
I kind of wish I grew up speaking like Spanish or something. I know this is a random thought, but it would have been pretty cool.
So 2.5 you guys grew up speaking.
My family was Ukrainian speaking, but then I was moved to town, like I grew up in a village, and then I moved to town with my mom, and it was like, then most of my life I spoke Russian.
Okay, time to finish this thing, then let's keep going because this is still the first clip.
Yeah, I think we're gonna move on.
One thing I'll add, just to summarize.
When you talk, it might be better for the audience.
So you couldn't hear me probably.
It was just not as good, but it'll be fine.
Okay, so just to summarize, I left Donetsk only because of Russian occupation. That's it. Let's continue.
Okay.
Throw the question marks all you want. I don't give a fuck about the Ukrainian constitution. I don't give a fuck about the Ukrainian border sovereignty that some of you dumbasses are fucking talking about like you're like a 3%er about for Ukraine. Okay? It's so stupid. Crimea is not the same as Kiev, however. Crimea is not the same as the rest of Ukraine, however. Eastern Ukrainian territories have a lot of fucking Russian people living in them because Ukraine, and just like Crimea and much of the rest of the fucking country, was a part of Russia, was a part of the USSR until not that long ago, okay? People's parents were alive back then. So obviously, there's a lot of fucking Russian people living there. So if you have...
Guys, I love the USSR. It's my favorite oppressive government.
You feeling bad about the Crimean annexation does not change the reality of the Crimean annexation being a completely justifiable fucking act by the Russian government, okay? So that's it. That's fine. And Hitler invaded countries based on Germanic ties at first? Yeah, dude. Talk to me when he's fucking throwing Ukrainians in a fucking... What are you talking about? Talk to me when he's throwing Ukrainians in a concentration camp, okay?
I love it. I love that perspective that like you have to get to the point where people are being genocided or put into concentration camps specifically for you to be a bad person. He'll literally call fucking Tucker Carlson a fascist and for using dog whistle language. But then when it comes to this, like people like literally people getting genocided already, it's not enough. Like it's fucking crazy.
Hitler wasn't fucking bad because he decided to invade Austria. He was bad because he was fucking killing Jews.
Well, he was bad for invading Austria too. I don't know if you guys know this. I don't know if you guys know this. There's this saying that goes out. They probably never heard of it. It's called "History will repeat itself." Repeats itself, right? I think the saying is something like, "If you don't, if you don't understand your history, it will repeat itself." That goal is to not have that happen. So, yeah, just saying.
Okay, that was the problem.
Really?
He wasn't like, oh yeah, we're gonna fucking annex territory with like Germanic people in it. That wasn't the main problem with Hitler. I think. That was like maybe the eighth down the line.
I think the main problem with Hitler is he was not a very good artist. So.
Oh yeah, I think it's 8th down the line.
That was a lot. Who wants to get hit?
Oh, that's me.
I just like to say that, again, he parrots Russian propaganda that we discussed just now by saying that Ukrainians who speak Russian are Russians, and that for some reason justifies it. But the main point I hear, I think, is he doesn't respect any international agreements in basically his statement. Because there was a lot of agreements on the sovereignty of Ukraine. There was every country in the world recognized it. There was specific agreements between Russia, Belarus, and Ukraine when the Soviet Union collapsed. Is that a non-aggression pact, that we're never going to fight each other. Then there was additional Budapest memorandum that kind of spoke about the same stuff. Him saying all that just completely shits on all of those agreements. So like what? We should just sign documents and not do anything with them? And it seems like the only countries are the Western countries who actually keep their word. And this is why Ukraine is receiving, in part, why Ukraine is receiving a lot of support from Western countries, especially like UK, USA. Those were the countries that were part of agreements.
Hey, listen. The newest Nick Rally video. I could do that one after this if you guys want me to. Remind me after this segment. Listen, America's fucking based, dude. I don't know what else to tell you. I love America. There's lots of things to criticize, but like, yeah, we typically keep our word. We act as a superpower of the world, and we like maintain that. We decided that we were the fucking big boys, and we take that seriously. You know, even now, one of the things I really respect about America is that even when people are complaining about things like, oh, we shouldn't be helping Ukraine, or oh, we shouldn't be helping Israel, or oh, why are we, doing this, or what's it? We should be. That's our role. Our role is to be the daddy of the world. Our role is to be the protector of the world. Our role is, that's what we're supposed to do. There are bad things. I understand imperializing, colonizing. I get it. But like when shit's getting tough, we stand up and help people who are being oppressed. No? So, Jesus.
That pledge support.
Even our involvement in the Middle East isn't like, oh fuck, let's get rid of Palestinians. It's like, oh, let's try to mediate and get like a deal that'll be good for Palestine and Israel.
So,
Fuck Bush Senior, by the way. He pushed that.
I was in the FNAF movie. Oh, shit.
I oppose the denuclearization of Ukraine. I'm sorry, but yeah.
Just the amount of disrespect in that clip is just staggering. First of all, he doesn't respect us as a country whatsoever. So it's our sovereignty, our borders, doesn't care at all. He assumes, like a colonialist he is, that if you used to be a colony of a country, you still belong to that country. Yeah, right. Supposedly, he would be self-determination guy, decolonialism guy, decolonize people, yeah, freedom, self-determination, but not when it comes to Ukraine. Doesn't care about Ukraine. Doesn't care about Austria that much, considering that comment. He basically says that they're Germanic, ethnically, which basically makes it not a big deal that Hitler invaded and annexed it.
Because a lot of Americans don't know what the Crimean annexation has been like. They kind of checked out after it happened in 2014. What has the Crimean annexation been like for those of you who know people who have had either lived through it or have been paying attention more than, other people?
Well, basically, I know a bunch of people who escaped from Crimea when this happened. And
why don't you cry me a river? That's inappropriate. Oh, sorry.
To be honest, if we speak about the most let's say, people who like Russia or liked Russia the best, that would be Crimea. Mostly because majority of people are Russian there ethnically, which Hassan mentions. I don't know if you showed this clip.
I'm sorry, I don't want to. I don't think you should say ethnically, because a lot of Russians were sent there because they had a lot of military bases there as well.
Yes, but
because of the deportation of ethnic people.
Yeah, that's what I'm going with. So right now, the last time we had like this demographic, 60% was ethnic Russian in Crimea. This was the result of the genocide and deportation of Crimean Tatari, who were native people there, and because of that, they pretty much moved Russians there, and it became Russian majority, which is one of the ways Russia uses their population to have a cultural leverage and influence in certain area. So yes, most people there were not exactly like
so they're not
Ukraine.
ethnic.
They're ethnically Russian.
Well, I think what they mean, they're ethnically Russian, but they weren't like they're not native there. I think that's the word. That's where we're getting confused with some of the language. I could be wrong.
They are Russian, but they're not ethnic to the Crimean.
No.
Yeah, not native. Not native.
They're not native.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so they were moved there, and because of that, of course, there's a lot of Russian allegiance there, and many people were pro-Russian in a sense. But at the same time, liking Russia and is not the same as wanting to be part of Russia. And he said to Ethan that supposedly it was rigged, and supposedly he adds those words just to make himself an out.
I think.
Yeah, but that's another story. Yeah, basically, Crimea is justified in his words, right? Specifically because of the Russian majority population there, which again is appeal to ethnic arguments. You can't annex Mexico, can't annex southern state where
I can. I'm built differently.
there are a lot of Hispanic people.
Texas,
He would not use this logic for any other country. He only uses it for us because he doesn't respect us and doesn't see us as a country.
May I add my reaction? What I've heard,
and we'll keep going.
Yes. What I've heard is a person who doesn't ever consider happening this to him. Like he never considers that this might happen to him in USA.
One quick question, and I don't want to stay on it too long, but do you guys believe that it's hard for Americans to conceptualize what's going on here due to their relative security?
Yeah, of course. Even myself, dude. I'm fucking balling right now. I'm just sitting here playing a mobile game on my computer while I stream other people having a conversation about something that's so deep to their lives, and I'm just like, typical Friday, you know what I mean? Like I'm aware of my privilege, you know. And you might think I'm an asshole for saying what I just said, but like I'm not an asshole. I just know what the fuck. I know. Hey, I know my place. I know my fucking place, dude. That's all it boils down to. So I'm just straight up fucking macking it, baby. I'm a G unit. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so.
In some party.
Like, I am further, I am more critical, as of now, I am more critical of the Russian actions of yesterday than the American government is, okay?
What?
Just understand that. I am more critical of the actions that took place yesterday than the American government is. The American government that was agitating for war and said, bang the war drums, bang the war drums, bang the war drums, literally non-fucking stop, saying like Russia's gonna murder babies, they're gonna eat babies inside of Kiev. They're ready to eat babies, they have a thirst for blood. They have a thirst for blood. Those motherfuckers have now turned around and been like, okay, well, maybe this is not an invasion because technically they invaded 8 years ago. So maybe it's not an invasion. No, this is a legitimized, this is the actual legitimate fucking invasion in comparison to the past 8 years of like Tim Pool after the 49.
Like, what's the point of Hassan? What is he trying to say? He's trying to say that that Russia has a valid claim to take part of a land over, and that he's fine with that, and that he's okay with Russian influence, which is oppressive, being spread over Western influence. Like, that's all he's saying. All he's saying is that when it comes to the people in Ukraine, that he doesn't think that they deserve rights. So that's it. I mean, I truly don't understand why, as like a left-leaning person, you wouldn't want to spread the fuck out of Western culture in a positive way. Like, hey, there's a country in need. Hey, we'll support you, but you have to like follow some Western rules. You have to start, treating people more equally. Oh, okay, sounds like a great deal to me. Why wouldn't you want that? They'll have a meltdown over like fucking getting rid of the ability for people to get abortions. But when people are getting like fucking genocided, it's like, not a big deal.
So he said this was the legitimate invasion, the annexation of Donetsk and Luhansk. That's what he's talking about in comparison to the last 8 years. That's what he said.
I just want to quick mention that while no Russians, from what we know, ate any babies, they did rape babies. Yeah. So
what the fuck?
Just
Russian troops raped and tortured children. You go, what the fuck? Is that real? Jesus.
To correct Hassan there.
Also, he made the point previously, and here as well. He said,
I don't know. I part of me feels like there's no way that's real. It's got to be propaganda, and I just want to believe that. That's fucked up. That's horrible if that's real. Jesus Christ.
Talk to me when like Russians start throwing Ukrainians in concentration camps. Hassan, what say you? I mean,
The prisoners camp, like,
yeah. I mean, what say you? Like about Bucha, about Yagidne, which was literally the camp. Yeah, about all of that. Please do tell. What's your opinion?
I would assume, I believe he has condemned those types of actions.
Oh, wonderful.
I'm going to push us forward because we're still on the first clip.
Yeah.
I would look like Tim Pool after the 49 state landslide L if, you know, there was a active bombing currently happening on Kiev and like Ukrainians were being murdered.
I just gotta say, I love chicken Kievs. They're very good.
Right at this moment.
You do.
I would be that way if America was like, we're going to full-throated, this is a full-blown invasion, and yet it hasn't happened. At this point, I have a more aggressive stance on Russian troops inside of Ukrainian borders than the American State Department does. So how do you pair up with
I like
that?
how he just defaults to America bad every time. It's just like,
gotta push it.
okay, we're gonna talk about Ukraine, but first, America was fucked up.
Yep. Yeah, he does look kind of silly, won't you all say, about the bombing comment?
Not the first time.
Yeah, when you kind of realize it, like it really is just a pure America bad. Like that is the entirety of it. If you really pay attention to what he's saying, if you read between the lines, guys. The lines are huge, by the way.
Yeah.
It's literally like they're doing a fucking W tour. They're like, yo, we're gonna predict the misinformation. False flag, dude. Okay, solve it. Solve the problem. What the fuck are they gonna do? Are they gonna go in? Are they gonna fucking fight back? Are they gonna like actually fly the planes into Ukraine? Are they gonna send in the 6,000 troops at the fucking border of Ukraine? Non-believers like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that they got this one fucking. They got this one. Okay. At this point, if you are in a position of fucking power, you had every opportunity to fucking exhaust diplomacy. Instead of fucking endlessly being like, this is a war that's gonna happen, this is a war that's gonna happen. Okay, then fucking try to solve it.
Well, I would like kind of agree here, except like I would agree on 50% here, because I believe that there should have been a stronger stance pre-war, and if that would be strong, it could potentially avoid the whole war. We don't know that, of course, and I don't think it was diplomacy. I think it would be like...
Yeah, but since Hassan's justifying the shit that the Russia's doing, wouldn't Hassan say that, like, we're just being aggressors again? So, like, he doesn't even believe this take that, like, well, the U.S. should have gotten involved sooner. He doesn't seem to, I don't even think he really believes that.
Like specific actions, sending weapons, perhaps even sending troops to prevent.
More weapons
Yeah, I just need to calm down, listen to Hassan. That's fucking based as hell, brother.
than they did. More than
I mean, sure.
Yeah, more than the jabs.
Result,
Yeah.
basically,
Or saying, like, even, like, pledging. Like saying, we're gonna send you like heavy weaponry, artillery, tanks. We will never back down. The same way
Never back down ever what?
they like Biden says, not an inch of NATO ground or something like that. I feel like that's a very strong statement.
Basically, if you can
Yeah, or how Biden says we own the finish line, dude. Oh, that's just fucking crazy.
2014, there was not just a slip on the wrist, basically, some sanctions.
Well, that was a complete success.
Yeah, but that was like a slip on the wrist. If that was like the reaction of the West might have been much stronger, even in words, but still more like condemning, promising us like some solid help assistance. Maybe Russia would not have, but who knows? Maybe it's like there's no point talking.
Biden got himself to Russia because he was trying to negate the damage that Trump did when he fucked up the relationship with Germany and all of that, and the Nord Stream was built, and he was trying to appease Russia. And I remember his diplomatic mission to Russia, Biden's, was like, let's be buddies because China.
I like how they literally tried diplomacy and it didn't work, and this guy is just sitting. They should try diplomacy.
Obama was doing that.
We're going to talk about. He is going to talk about the possibility of Minsk 3 later.
Oh, yeah.
Because 1 and 2 were great.
Yeah, let's talk
They
about
worked so good.
You could just take the L Ukraine. Wait, no, that's not what I'm saying. America has already delivered the L to Ukraine, okay? That's not what I'm saying at all.
How does America deliver an L to Ukraine by trying to help?
I'm saying America needs to fucking take the L.
Okay.
What?
Of course, yes.
That's all of this. There's one more pre-war clip I wanted to show you. 1 second.
So that Russian invasion bad, but America is worse.
America exists.
Yeah.
LL.
Yeah, big
So
L.
this was around February 15th. Oh, this was posted around February 15th. This is him reacting to a now deleted video by the Gravel Institute. The Gravel Institute was started by former.
Oh, that's got him in so much trouble. I remember he got fucking dumpstered. That shit was fucking crazy.
Staffers for the Mike Gravel campaign in 2020. For the record, I did actually at one point work on the Mike Gravel campaign. I just say that.
Have I heard this someone else will raise your sons and daughters quote? Bro, I think I remember that. Hold on. That's I think I know what you're referring to. Hold on.
This entire military is
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's fucking crazy.
In this video, he's reacting to them talking about the threat of Ukrainian Nazism in Ukraine. Now, the Gravel Institute, due to critiques they received for this video has now been removed. I do want to put that out there for the record.
It was removed almost immediately.
But this is Hassan reacting to that and making a comparison to the Mujahideen, which were the rebel fighters in Afghanistan, extrapolating the idea that maybe if they fund Azov to fight Russia or fund the Ukrainians with weapons, it could lead to Azov overthrowing the Ukrainian government or some type of far-right takeover. But I don't want to put words in his mouth. You can listen to it yourself. Here it is.
For the record, this is exactly how it works in Latin American countries as well. This is exactly how it works in the Mujahideen being armed and being seen as like a revolutionary counterbalance to the fucking the USSR military forces in Afghanistan. Like, we have done this already. We've done this a million times over. This is kind of America's modus operandi.
Yeah, well, all he's saying fundamentally is that America will arm resistance groups. Yes. Okay. Like, okay, why is that a bad thing? Like, I understand that sometimes our interests aren't good. Sometimes we have the wrong interests at heart. But even again, when we went to Afghanistan, what happened when we pulled out? The women went back to being put on fucking leashes and not being able to go to college anymore. So it's like, yeah, there's bad things when we support some of these regimes, these takeover regimes. But like, what the fuck? Like, there's something to consider. Like, oh well, maybe there is a positive because we do try to implement more freedom. I'm just saying, just because we support a group that, and I'm not saying that every time we support a resistance group that we're in the right. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that just because we do support resistance groups doesn't mean that it's a bad thing that we do it. Like, okay.
Which is why I fucking hyper-focus on this and talk about it, okay?
Ukraine. So he's saying that he hyper-focuses and talk about it. What do you think about the Mujahideen comparison?
I think that this is a perfectly fair comparison when you don't have a clue what you're talking about. If you don't know the situation inside Ukraine, you don't know how these forces are represented in Ukraine, you don't know anything about Azov, you don't know anything about Ukrainian politics and like what people, like seriously, Ukraine was fully occupied during World War II by Nazis. Russia, like, it's kind of crazy because we were taught still like USSR history, and that it was said that the whole, like, half of USSR was occupied and Nazis were like very close to like the heart of Moscow and stuff. When you look at the map, they were like in the regions that are now being shelled by Ukrainian missiles. So like Belgorod, no, Ukrainian, Belgorod, like all these.
Yeah, closer to the.
Yeah, it was really close, but whole Ukraine was occupied.
In Belarus.
Do you really think that like there's a strong Nazi presence in Ukraine? Like, there is a nationalist presence, and the presence, I feel like nationalism obviously has bad connotations in the West, but it is only bad, I believe, when you're in a peacetime, because...
Yeah, I understand what he's saying. Like, yeah, there is a strong nationalism. There tends to be more regression in thoughts, feelings, and perspectives when you're being oppressed, because you're kind of at the spot where you're just like kind of everybody for themselves type of a deal. Like, we need to protect ourselves because we're being assaulted, we're under attack, people are trying to hurt us, people are trying to kill us, so we need to protect us and our interests. So yeah, okay, I understand what you're saying. But when you're in a peacetime where, you know, you're not under threat, like in America, that perspective becomes very toxic.
Out of nationalism that way is usually like racism against people who are migrating to the country and stuff. You start to find enemies, but when your country is being attacked and there's a very clear enemy, and you kind of, you know, people consolidate under a national idea, so that's absolutely fine under such conditions. But I completely
just a little bit of a context. I actually watched that Rebel Institute video before it got removed and lost my shit, because that was 100% Russian propaganda repackaged in English, like word for word, same words, like Nazi America-sponsored revolution was a coup, was a Western-sponsored coup. Everything was in far-right people everywhere. So Hassan watches it in front of like thousands upon thousands of his viewers, basically nods to it, and then makes the Mujahideen comparison.
Oh, I do want to ask, do you think that
I think that maybe it just makes Hassan viewers feel good that they get to be like anti-mainstream. They're like, I have a cool anti-mainstream opinion, Mom. I'm fucking cool as shit. I'm a fucking rebel. I think that's all it is. You know, I think that Hassan's stream, Hassan's popularity is literally just a bunch of rebellious teenagers going like, yeah, I'm a fucking rebel, Mom. You don't know me, dude. You know, I think that's it.
A possible reason maybe not to send supplies to the Ukrainian military, or that this could destabilize Ukraine, or it could end up like the Mujahideen.
Mom, I'm a fucking rebel, Mom!
Not whatsoever, for the reasons we mentioned, because far-right people, we have the democracy, we have functioning government, it's not like a gangs of far-right fundamental Islamists are running around and, you know, fighting with each other, that's first of all. And second of all, this is an attempt to undermine aid to Ukraine. And so, the most interesting part of it is, he is supposedly concerned that fascist and far-right people will come into power in Ukraine due to the aid and due to the America.
Well, he doesn't care about that because he's like literally Like, he doesn't care about that fascists will come into power, because Hamas is fascist, and he doesn't care that they, like, when it comes, you understand that when it comes to the Israel-Palestine solution, Hassan is like, yeah, these are terrorist organizations that murder LGBTQ people and oppress women, but they're being oppressed, so it's Israel's fault. Okay, but then when it comes to Ukraine, being similar but not even close, all of a sudden it's like, no, I'm worried that far-right fascists are going to take rise. He doesn't care. He's just weaponizing emotions to try to be like, he's just trying to downplay as much as possible. That's the number one motive.
He's not concerned that fascists will come into power in Ukraine if Russia takes Ukraine. Not concerned about that whatsoever. Yeah, so he mentions our far-right people and the Western government sponsoring them, but doesn't say a word about what awaits us here if Russia takes over.
And then specifically said he likes to focus on it.
Yeah, and he says he likes to focus on America, not on the country that is actually invading and killing people in this country.
By the way, the aid that Obama brought and that Trump brought is like, it is laughable. And he opposes even that. So like, javelins are fucking great, but
Russia, bit in the beginning, of course, but
Russia really targets Azov. In my opinion, it's because it was one of the most effective units, and it was creating a lot of problems for Russians, especially in 2014. Thanks to them, they weren't able to take Mariupol back then, and they knew it was organized, it was strong, and it could really stop them. And that's what they really targeted. That, of course, like there's history of Azov where it was a guy who initially.
Zelenskyy has a bad rap. They used that.
Yeah,
as well,
but he also has bad rep among some other Ukrainians. Like it's not like a figure that is.
He's no longer in control of Azov, first of all, and I would say is I don't know for sure a Nazi back then in the day. Yeah, but they tied to this history. Also, Russian used this narrative very effectively because they tied this whole Bandera thing that is long-standing like accusations of all Ukrainians being Nazi.
A guy who died in a Nazi camp.
Yeah. Not to mention the fact that it was like I recently did.
Well, I mean, Hassan loves calling everybody Nazis, so that's probably why he likes Russia so much. He's like, oh, they call everybody Nazis too? Fuck, I really like this place.
Research on that because I'm always asked about that. And the number of collaborations, the highest number of collaborations.
Wait, you had to do research about Bandera? Aren't every Ukrainian taught from that from school?
I have to know what's up. I'm being asked all the time and calling Bandera Ukrainian Nazi war all the time. So I gotta, play this up. So basically the number of collaborators was less than 1% in Ukraine. Yeah. We are talking non-stop about this Nazi problem, despite the fact that amount of Nazi collaborators in Ukraine was less than 1%, and 7 million people served in Red Army, and 5 million Ukrainians died due to Nazi occupation. And we have to deal with these people like that, watching videos of us and calling us Nazis. People who didn't suffer from Nazis, by the way, Americans.
And by the way, we're talking. Hassan calls everybody else Nazis, as he's literally admitted that if he ran the country, if he had control of the country, and there were people who had a capitalist party in his country, he would put them in concentration camps. Like, he fucking literally said this. Just to be clear, okay, this is the guy. This is your guy. This is your freedom guy.
Nearly as much as Ukraine.
And people were okay with us being subjugated and
captured. Fuck that shit,
right?
honestly, yeah. Sorry.
Okay, no worries. We're going to go on to the next video. So today is the anniversary of the Kerch bridge attack when the Ukrainian military targeted the Kerch bridge, which connects, I know you guys already know this, but for the record, it connects Russia to Crimea. It was established in around 2015, 2016 by Vladimir Putin. It was built illegally in occupied land, and Hassan had a take after the bridge was...
I wish they'd put a bridge in Long Island that connected Long Island to Connecticut. Again, I know it's a random thought, but I do wish it. And you might be like, why? Well, because then, first of all, it would lower property values in Hampton, so fuck you pussies. And second of all, it would be easier to, like, work. People in Connecticut could work in New York or on Long Island. People on Long Island could work in Connecticut. It'd be great. It'd be great for people in jobs. So
It was targeted in order to disrupt Russian supply lines to the front, since it's a major supply line for the Russians. And Hassan ended up calling the targeting of this bridge a war crime. And so we're going to play the audio of his accusation, so you can listen to his own words.
Uh-oh. Everything's a war crime if Hassan disagrees with it.
Like
the war crime of making the bridge, not a war crime. The war crime of destroying the bridge, well, war crime. Like, again, understand that especially when it comes to Israel Hamas, Hassan will say it's war crimes when Israel does something. Won't say it about Hamas. I'll say it about both of them. They're in a war. Right? Not good, but there's no, like, it's a war crime if it's a side that's like, if it's a Western side, it's a war crime. If it's the non-Western side, it's like perfectly okay.
The Russian forces are being supplied, but it's also a bridge that, connects Crimea to the Russian mainland.
That's a bridge.
So you absolutely can consider it a war crime in the same way that when Russia blows up shit on the civilian infrastructure and claims that they're doing it for military purposes, it's just like bullshit. Not that it fucking matters. They literally blew up the pipelines, dude. They blew up the pipelines that were bringing in gas into fucking Europe. And it went nowhere. I felt like I was eating every crazy pill on the goddamn planet when I was talking about it. And everyone was like, Hassan, you don't have enough information for this. It's like, what are you talking about? You have to look to like who stands to benefit in situations like this, right? So
Hassan certainly stands to benefit.
Ultimately,
Got confused.
ultimately, it's ridiculous. And this is what happens every single time.
So he talks about Nord Stream a little bit at the end there, but you guys can comment on that if you want. But I wanted to start with the Kerch Bridge statement. What did you guys think about him saying that the targeting of the Kerch Bridge was a war crime?
Well, this is about the most stupid thing. We have heard a lot of stupid things, but this is about the most stupid thing, because in every war in human history, bridges have been the most legitimate, the most on-the-nose legitimate war target you can ever imagine. This is the bridge that was built illegally on the annexed territory, first of all.
Specifically for the military.
Yeah, yes. Second of all, for supplies, millions of videos of tanks, I don't know, like armored vehicles, artillery, going through this bridge, us attacking that bridge in the time of the day where there was the least amount of people there possible. Yeah. So he calls that and compares it, the worst thing, to Russians blowing up residential areas, blowing up hospitals, kindergartens. At that day, he commented on the bridge, just so you guys know. But this was the day when Zaporizhia was attacked, and the entire building was leveled, and more than 50 people died. Yeah. And he didn't say a word, but he said plenty of words about attacking a legitimate target and calling it a terrorist act and comparing it to actual terrorist acts. That's
$1.99. Papa, what is your favorite war crime?
Probably Obama. Nice.
I have to say
and
about
then
this.
deflected to the Nord Stream.
Yeah,
He likes to talk
and that's
about
a they blew up, so basically accusing us.
Actually, like it's a fucking fact, proven fact, but it's not. No one knows.
It's like when a teacher never noticed bullying in school, and some big kid punches the little boy, and then once he like strikes back and like, oh my god, what are you doing? It's the same thing. It's
I've been holding that opinion for a while.
Well, yeah, except for he knows what's going on there. He just downplays it.
He said it himself. It's used for military purposes.
Yeah, he does say it in the beginning. Yeah, in that sense, it's not legitimate.
So attacking a military target is a war crime nowadays?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Thank you, Hassan.
Thank you, Hassan, for letting me know.
You know, it's like the more times he like is proven wrong, his position moves like to the moves closer to the correct position.
Yeah, he doubles down. Dude, he's literally just like he's an election denier. Like, he has the same logic and the same rhetoric. Like, that's all it really boils down to. Everything's a conspiracy. You know what I mean?
Like, he's like, war is bad and all of that. But he always
I'm proving wrong, but it's just a Western conspiracy to do this. It's like, that's the same shit when fucking conservatives are saying everything is a conspiracy. Their conspiracies do exist. But, I mean, Jesus Christ.
Like
you got the information in front of your face and you're still denying it.
The most pro-Russian position that is maybe portrayed as believable to some people. It's like invasion's not gonna happen. Well, it was provoked. No, it wasn't. But like the Ukrainians make a war crime.
That's what he does in most things I've seen, and that's why, for example, calling him like a pro-Russia person probably is not exactly correct. But he does play apologia for Russia. He repeats Russian narratives. He repeats
what if he's just stupid?
That's also a possibility, of course. Yeah, but he does do it, and intentionally or not, that's another question, right? But he does do it, and he plays up the narratives that
What's up with
harm
the
us.
mask guy? Is it a profession? I probably just worried about COVID, man. But he's probably just a dirty liberal. He's probably just a fucking dirty liberal, so he's wearing a mask, you know?
That harm our country.
Hey, go dream. Go mask off, baby. Go mask off.
Russian propaganda unchecked to millions of people.
Yeah.
So the clip we're about to watch is Hassan interviewing a presidential candidate for the Democratic Party's nomination. This is Marianne Williamson. She's considered.
I don't think I've ever watched. I didn't watch that at all. So it's
very progressive for American politics, and they're talking about the issue of sending aid to Ukraine and supporting Ukraine. And Hassan when Marianne Williamson indicated that she wanted to continue to support aid and support the Ukrainians, he started to bring up negotiations that happened during the start of the war with Boris Johnson and his story of events, interrupting and stopping the successful negotiations, basically avoiding a peace that could have been. Let's play the clip.
Yeah, I think that. I mean, I guess I do agree that if the United States would withhold all arms from Ukraine tomorrow, that this would be absolutely devastating for Ukraine. I don't disagree with that. Except due to that reality, I think that they have a lot more power in the negotiations process in terms of like issuing the terms of ceasefire than.
But what does that look like? I don't understand quite what that would look like. To whom? We don't have the power to dictate that to Putin. Who are you saying we're dictating this to?
There's that's why you have to have China at the table as well. But ultimately,
she did say Russia.
He's basically just saying that we should dictate a ceasefire. Ukrainians should just ceasefire. They should just stop defending themselves. Now, I don't know if he said this intentionally or like if he didn't realize what he's saying was dumb, but that's what he's saying. That's fucking, hey, based, Hassan, based.
We were hoping for that. I was hoping for that. Xi went to Russia. He spoke with Putin. Zelenskyy said, hey, call me. We were all hoping, listen, I don't care who can come up with an answer to this. And we were hoping, and they actually ended up with these quite weak principles. So,
well, there was a 15-point plan negotiated in Turkey in the earlier version of the invasion that seemingly was a little bit more prosperous. Zelenskyy himself even conceded to pushing Crimea later down, to like a 15-year program for Crimea, where he would like have another democratic vote on how to best continue on with those negotiations. That all fell apart when Boris Johnson visited Ukraine, and I don't think that England has any sort of agency in this conversation beyond operating as a mouthpiece for the American State Department.
Of course.
So, what do you guys think of his retelling of the early negotiation and events?
I think there's two main points. The first one is 2 of those 15 points. I don't remember if it was 15, maybe it was closer to 10. But in any case, 2 of those were Ukraine is never in NATO, and we should demilitarize ourselves. Basically, have
still make themselves completely vulnerable to a future attack. And since Russia never seems to really honor what they say, that's the goal. The goal is to get them to de-arm themselves so that Russia has a more easier time taking them over.
We have 50,000 troops and no heavy weaponry, if I remember correctly.
Recognize Donbass, Crimea, all the annexed territories.
Regarding the territories, I don't know, but it was like just those 2 points. It just basically don't have any protection for us. Like, obviously, your next step, we know what's going to happen. So that was the thing. And I remember that some of the points were agreed to, but not the main ones, which were like military and stuff. And that's what Putin and Zelenskyy were supposedly needed to discuss in Turkey. But Boris Johnson has nothing to do with it. I think the timeline is completely wrong. Yes. Johnson was after this agreement.
No, he was. The agreement started already. I researched that shit. It was in several parts, the agreement. And first of all, they couldn't agree on anything, so they said that there's no point. The next agreement was Zelenskyy was kind of willing to not postpone the Crimea question and maybe consider not being part of NATO. Maybe. Although all sides were saying that those negotiations are not going anywhere because Russians in particular were bombing cities at the time. They also made
Bucha happened, right?
Bucha happened a week after Boris. Which is before Boris came, a week before.
But it happened before the agreements got cancelled completely.
No, after. That's exactly the timeline I'm trying to establish, basically. So plenty of other people.
Bucha happened before
Boris. Yeah.
Yes, a week before Boris came. So basically, what happened is this: that we were talking about this whole subject back and forth, negotiations. He presented as if we wanted it. We were just desperate. That's what we were trying to fix this situation. But many people, French Prime Minister, Estonian Prime Minister, said that this is unreasonable before Boris came here. They said that Putin cannot be negotiated with. They said the same thing that Boris said. They said the same thing. All of us already knew.
I remember reading that Boris quote was very mild. He wasn't like saying like you can agree on everything you want.
He quotes the Ukrainian Pravda article, which is our journal. Basically, they kind of
so he just said that they're not going to stand to their word. Like, yeah, no shit. I mean, again, like just based on hearing, we want you to demilitarize. We want you to basically make yourself defenseless. So this way, in the future, they could just take them over. That's obviously the fucking plan. Russia starved people out of Ukraine and implanted Russians. Like, of course, they're going to pull some fucking shit like that.
rephrase what he said, and they said that he said you can negotiate with him, he's a war criminal. He didn't say this publicly, supposedly. He only said it like backstage, basically. So that's what he's building upon this whole.
It's funny how Ukraine is so adamant returning all of the territories, but Boris Johnson just swoops in and changes
the power
everything.
Yeah. Also, the funny fact is, again, disregards Ukrainian agency completely, doesn't care about anything, and also doesn't mention Bucha, which was one of the main reasons actually, because the week we liberated Bucha the week before Boris Johnson came here, and Naftali Bennett, I think, is the name of the Israeli guy who came here. He came here and he said like there's a 50-50 chance of negotiation, but then he publicly said that after Bucha it's not possible. And that article Hasan quotes, first reason they say is Bucha. Second one, they say potentially the influence of the war.
I do think I should also say for the record that the article he's talking about is a Pravda piece. An undisclosed private, we don't know who exactly source it is, an anonymous source, and I believe it was a second-hand source, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, but he's so thirsty to jump on it. So,
hey, listen, sounds like it's got plenty of sources to me. No verified source, base as fuck, dude.
To accuse the West, he even calls like England the mouthpiece for like United States. He's so thirsty.
I mean, they are. We're just right, baby. That's the thing. Hassan would have to concede that America is sometimes correct.
Yeah, but people like Boris
shit.
primarily because in Ukraine he was one of the most popular people, I believe, at the time, because his statements were quite condemning, basically, of Russia. He was not doing he was not doing the Germany thing, the France thing, all fraternal nations, brotherly nations. He was not doing any of that. He was very straightforward. Putin is a war criminal. Ukraine needs our support, and of course people love it. So obviously, right? Because that's what we care about.
It's this, sometimes people misjudged. For example, Russian shells like to say like Zelenskyy is an authoritarian leader, but no, he's a populist. He just our leaders don't rule Ukrainian people. The Ukrainian people rule our leaders because Zelenskyy was pretty cocked as a candidate. I hated him as a candidate. He was pretty cocked.
Me too, yeah.
Yeah, his platform was, well,
Thompson
maybe...
is the biggest Zelenskyy thing, be careful. Be careful. Yeah. He's like a Z, but big Zelenskyy.
But Zelenskyy platform was like, maybe we should stop shooting, you know, maybe we should like not respond.
Yeah, land does not work.
Wow, Zelenskyy sounds like a pussy, dude. What the fuck? Why'd they vote this pussy in? He's probably just looking for peace because he's desperate, but pussy, dude.
Yeah, but that was what... Like, that was the approach at the time, that we thought that it would... Look at the whole West. They thought that you could agree with Putin. And now Zelenskyy knows for a fact that you can't. And look how strong of a leader he is.
Guys,
awesome.
do you believe, as I believe, that Zelenskyy in the beginning of his term was too naive and he really thought that he might stop shooting and everything will...
I don't think it was too naive. I think we all were naive. Because we were like... almost like 8 years in the war, or like we were in war with Russia from 2014. We just kind of fucking forgot about it. I'm ashamed personally.
Because I didn't, but okay.
Yeah, because I lived like as if that never happened, and
many people did.
And when this war happened, like to a lot of people, it was a surprise.
The only thing
even though it shouldn't have been.
I really don't like that Zelenskyy did that I could definitely point out was bad. Maybe it was a mistake on his point. Maybe he was trying to fix.
I know that Zelenskyy was a comedian and an actor. Hey, dude, the you know what I mean? Those jesters, dude. Modern day poets, am I right?
Some stuff, but remember when at the beginning when America.
My favorite modern day poetry is like, my pronouns are I love America. Those are my favorite. Conservative pronoun comedy is my favorite.
Were like, Russia is going to invade, and he was like, why are you so in panic? Don't.
I don't think that was a mistake. I think that was a calculated.
I think that made us look very, very good.
Can I ask you guys a first question? Because
oh, that's something Zelenskyy had said, and that sounds like he might just want to try to keep his people calm. Be like, don't worry, it's not happening. Like, relax. Relax. You're okay. Chill out. Chill the fuck out. You know what I mean? That's what I do when my wife is getting upset. I shake her. Go, stop. You're okay. And I shake her violently. You know what I mean? Because what else can you really do?
Well, I want to ask you guys two questions, but the first one's on this. Even though it's off topic, I think it's good because a lot of Westerners don't see this. How many of you guys, and I don't know if you want to share this, did you guys, who in here voted for Zelenskyy or didn't vote for Zelenskyy?
Absolutely.
No, I didn't. Yeah.
I
did. You did it? Did you vote for Zelenskyy?
I didn't vote. I am ashamed of it. I'm ashamed
Oh,
of
he
it.
took the mask off, dude. This guy's going mask off. He's going Kanye. Yay West, baby.
But yes,
Look at him.
unfortunately, I changed a lot for the last
You're welcome.
2 years.
You're welcome, guys.
And you voted for Zelenskyy?
Yes.
So let's get to the last thing. Now, this is a somewhat bigger one, but this is the whole reason we did this. So Hassan and his co-host on a podcast, Ethan Klein, also known as H3H3, started debating a whole host of topics, including Taiwan, and the topic of the Russian invasion of Ukraine came up. And Ethan knew that Hassan, had possibly been criticized for this before, and he wanted to hear his opinions, and they started going back and forth. And he talked about the Boris Johnson thing, so this is something he does still believe. He repeats this here.
Yeah, he continues.
This is months after the Marianne Williamson interview, and he talks about a few other things, like how weapons are just contributing to the bloodshed. And later we have some more stuff to show. I don't want to.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's what weapons are for. Sometimes you have to defend yourselves. So.
Before you push the button, please tell me you included the clip.
My pronouns are MAGA. Make America great again.
When he says you have to force Ukraine to negotiate.
Hey, baby.
Fuck, that's it.
I'm gonna force you to negotiate with my dick. I don't know. I'm just doing like a weird conservative thing. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
That's my favorite bit.
There's so much, and I have to make the tough call.
I wasn't like trying to hit on her or say anything about it. I had nothing to do with her. I just said that. I'm just being stupid.
Special mention, okay?
Okay, you
I'm
can mention it if you want. At any point.
Leave me alone.
Let's talk about Ukraine, and then that's my final one.
Okay.
So we were talking about Ukraine, and your position was that the support for Ukraine is 100% manufactured.
No.
That's what you said last time.
No, I think that all matter of American foreign policy is greatly influenced by manufactured consent because of our interest in doing whatever the fuck we want to do there.
Yeah, I mean, listen, here's the thing. there's a level of truth to it, of course. You know, depending on what the media covers and depending on how the media covers it is going to dictate the way a lot of people feel. That's why there is such a pro-Palestine and such an anti-Israel sentiment right now. It's because our media is telling you to feel that way. The progressive media is just is signal boosting and blasting, and a lot of it's through TikTok. I'm not saying don't feel bad for Palestine, but there's like nobody's feeling bad for Israel at all. That's where a lot of it comes from. And people are dumb, and they just believe whatever they see on the news, even though they know the news is not exactly it can be very misinforming. So yeah, there's a level of truth to that. It doesn't mean we shouldn't help Ukraine, though. You know what I mean? It means maybe we should help other countries more, though.
Whether it be like bringing Ukraine into the Western sphere.
But then, even if we did help other countries, well, how would we help them? We'd help them by supplying them with money and food and arms so that they can overthrow their oppressive government, and then we'll get criticized for taking too much influence into a particular area, right? So America doesn't really win when it comes to any of these things. Let's be real.
Influence or it's not genuine because they want like genuine emancipation for Ukrainians.
So
I think that they do. I think it's more that they care more because they have a level of interest in it. It's like any relationship. Like I care about my wife because I'm interested in her. If I wasn't interested in her, I wouldn't care about my wife. So I wouldn't do things for her. Like it sounds like so crazy when he says it, but it really is not that hot of a take. It's not really like crazy. It's like, yeah, they're friends and they want to help because they're friends because they like them, because they do stuff for each other. Oh wow, that's horrible. That's terrible, man. What the fuck? Who would ever do that? You know what I mean? Like that's what's being said here.
Well, so last time you guys compared it, you said, well, nobody gave a fuck about Georgia when that got invaded. Therefore, the fact that anyone cares about Ukraine feels like manufactured.
It's not even just Georgia.
Well, you guys know that, but you guys realize there's like a massive. I didn't know anything about the Georgia war. I learned about it. There's a huge difference. You guys understand?
Well, I mean, the scale is
a 5-day war.
Yeah,
they expected Ukraine to drop in 5 days, and if it did, we probably wouldn't be talking about it.
That's true. That's true.
So, like, what happened was Ukraine mounted this miraculous defense, and they've got Russia, a fascist country, on the back foot, and we all like when fascism.
I don't think Russia is on the back foot. I think it's just like extending the harm and only furthering conflict.
Inflicted so much.
Extending the harm and only furthering conflict. Okay, great.
Okay, so remember.
So that's to Palestine as they attack Israel. Say that's Palestine. They're only extending the war and making the conflict worse.
Remember, in the first video, he was saying Russia would never invade because it's going to get destroyed. Now Russia is not even on a back foot. They're like doing well.
Because now he pushes the narrative that if supporting Ukraine now will only prolong the war. Yeah. So it will, he's on another train right now.
What do you think about that? Because that's something that he's against. He said this before, and they talk about this during this, but he's against aid because he believes it prolongs the suffering of the Ukrainian people. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, also the manufactured consent bit, I think, is one.
Yeah, we'll talk about that as well. But let's start with that one.
Oh, absolutely stupid, silly thought. People here are so anti-Russia, so they're anti-war in the sense that they want it to stop, but only on our terms of getting what is ours. And if we're not going to have weapons, there's just going to be way more Ukrainians that are going to die in pursuit of that. Yeah. And there's nothing the West can change about that. There is nothing.
Sure. If we surrender, let's say
we've been helping and they're basically losing. No, they're not. They're winning. Like we're basically just waiting Russia out. They're really not able to maintain Russia's pathetic. The only reason why Russia hasn't gotten invaded or taken over is because it's big and cold. That's it. Every time someone's tried, it's like, yeah, it's a lot of chilly weather. And we didn't take our chilly weather preparation gear with us. That's it. That's the only reason. So when they try to overstep their bounds, they look like fucking idiots because they're pathetic and they're weak. So that's why, like, us helping Ukraine is working. We should continue to help Ukraine.
American forces Zelenskyy to surrender our territory. Okay, the hot war will turn into, first of all, a concentration camp. Ukraine is going to be just a concentration camp for Ukrainians.
Like an open-air prison, you mean?
Like an open-air prison. And second, the war will not be over. It's going to be just guerrilla warfare. It's going to be car bombs. It's gonna be assassinations. It's gonna be
something similar to like the Irish Troubles, maybe.
Sure. Yeah.
I think ironically, if Zelenskyy gonna do that, he's doomed. Like,
oh yeah.
Yeah, everyone's going to.
Yes.
Actually, let me ask that question quick before we turn over to you. If Zelenskyy was tomorrow to say, for peace, we're giving the Russians Mariupol, we're going to give the Donetsk, Luhansk, and Russia here.
We won't let them. That's the thing.
We and the
won't let them do
soldiers,
this.
I talk with them a lot. They will never go.
They are we together. We all Ukrainians.
I think Ukraine did a fantastic job in their informational campaign for the war, in drumming up support for Ukraine, but also kind of explaining to Ukrainians what this whole thing means, and that Russia will never stop, and we have to stop them here and now. That we're kind of
Yeah, you do. If you don't, then they're just going to continue to push. They're testing boundaries as part of the thing too. They're seeing how much people will put up with.
like the whole population is so. I feel like they didn't want to repeat the mistake of 2014 because they know if it's not gonna finish right now, it's gonna happen again. I think just population will just never agree to that.
Yeah, because we have this experience since 2014. We know how it is to negotiate with Russia. It's useless. It's fucking useless. And those negotiations in the beginning, the first days of war, it was just a fucking ultimatum from Russia's side. They never stepped back on a single point, you know? That this is fucking useless. And giving something up to Russia, it's not an option, and we all Ukrainians understand that.
And also, I would like to point out that I hear that a lot, not only from Hassan, but in general, that many people who are peaceniks, so to speak, who are pro-peace, they say that violence needs to stop, and they do this gross appeal to like Ukrainian.
Yeah, violence needs to stop. So the people getting violated, they should stop defending themselves. That's just like bully apologia. It's pathetic.
Lives, I worry about Ukrainian lives, and I would like to point out that stopping the war right now does not stop the violence. Our area, Kherson part of Zaporizhia, Donbass, all of those areas are still occupied. People are still suffering there from imprisonment, from torture, from rape, from all sorts of abuse, and leaving them, people in occupied areas, is leaving them to suffer, and it's not going to stop the violence anyhow. Even if we, it's just.
Would any of you say that living under occupation is a type of peace, or any?
No. I prefer being bombed.
Yes.
I live in a city that is bombed.
But that's
The fucking Ukrainian people are base as fuck, dude. Holy shit.
But that's a hypothetical that is very stretchy because, like, even let's say people are living under occupation, there won't be peace because Russia broke every peace deal they made.
Yes.
Because it's not. Remember Ilovaisk? We negotiated the Green Corridor, so our.
In late summer 2014, the Ukrainian armed forces battled pro-Russian separatists for control of the town of whatever. I can't even pronounce it. Okay. In the border region of Donetsk, eastern Ukraine. By September, the separatists had won resounding victory, routing the retreating Ukrainian army, even as the battle was ongoing. However, allegations swirled that regular units of the Russian army had joined the battle on the side of the separatists, tipping the scale, decisively. Russia denied the charge, but in what became a watershed moment for open source investigation, communities of researchers, reporters, and citizen journalists gathered substantial and compelling open source evidence of the presence of a Russian military. Okay, so I guess that they had said that they wouldn't actively get involved, and they did. Okay.
Troops were pull out, they shelled the shit out of them.
Most Westerners have no clue what happened.
Yes.
I feel like you can ask any Ukrainian, so I'll just ask Ukrainians over here. Would you rather live in Ukraine that is currently under war, or would you rather live in peaceful Russia?
I feel
like
peaceful Russia, right?
It's a prison camp.
Yeah.
Exactly. I feel like you ask any Ukrainian.
Not even a question.
I do want to talk about the second thing he mentioned.
It actually was a question.
Consent. This has to do with a novel written by Noam Chomsky, who is a known American socialist author,
Ukrainian
philosopher, he's a linguist.
His grandpa is Ukrainian.
Yes, he does have a
Ukrainian background.
Doesn't say anything.
But this is an extension of an argument he's been making, which is that the reason why America supports Ukraine isn't because of our love for their struggle of freedom, but because we have self-serving interests. Maybe something like we want oil in Ukraine, or we want to expand NATO. We want to bring
Who cares? Like it doesn't. Who cares? Why does it matter? Truthfully speaking, why does it matter that America gets involved with a country that they have interests in? You only get involved in relationships you have interests in. How is this like a hot take? How are people like, wow, that makes so much sense? No, it doesn't. It's not like a gotcha. Like, no shit, you're going to help people. Like, what's the interest? Oh, it could be oil, right? Or what's the interest? Oh, maybe they just want to spread their influence. Maybe the other country wants help, and they'll agree to spread that influence, the Western influence of less oppression for their people. Who cares? Why? Who gives a shit?
Ukraine into the Western sphere, and so his argument is it's cynical. We shouldn't be. We're doing it for selfish reasons, and that's bad.
I will say I heard you say, I think, when we watched the clip, you said, who cares?
Yeah, who cares?
Who cares? That's my argument. I don't care what motivation is of our allies. If they help us with liberating ourselves, with preserving our nation, saving ourselves from annihilation as a nation, right? I don't care.
I do care, but I feel like it's also important to understand what is the motivation. And I feel like the motivation that Western countries have are completely justifiable, completely normal, and I would agree with them, and I would want the same for my country.
Yeah, in principle, I don't care. Someone the country I don't like gave us aid, I will accept.
No,
that,
even the countries that I do like. I'm just
but
saying that if their idea is to not let Russia expand further,
that's good for us,
to secure the territory so that they would be secure in every scenario, we also win.
Yes.
So I don't.
Not only us as well, Georgia, Moldova, other countries.
True. And it's a very simple argument. We already saw that from 2014. Russia doesn't stop unless it's stopped. If nobody's going to stop them, if US is not going to give weapons, US is far away, so you may feel secure unless you look at the other side of the map and then you see that Russia and the US are very close to each other. But if Russia is going to capture more and more countries, it's going to grow. Their imperialist influence is going to grow, and you never know what might happen next. Maybe they will.
Yeah, they talk about this Russia. Hassan talks about it a lot, like multipolar world order. Yeah. So basically, he's like Russia, America, and China, and things like that. And dude, if we understand, all of us here understand, there are bigger players, right? Ukraine is not one of those bigger players. I so much prefer the Western influence and the Western way of doing like imperialism or whatever he thinks they do, right? Or they do in reality. Because when America imperialism, he says, I debated with people, and they're like, they will install like their like McDonald's or some shit. It's already here, by the way, but that's their idea of imperialism. When Russian imperialism is my father being in bits on the balcony.
Damn, that might be dangerous. Hey, we want to come here and install McDonald's. Shit. That's fucking crazy, dude. That's scary. I'm gonna give you guys fucking heart attacks. That's how we're gonna get rid of you. We're gonna install a McDonald's.
Also quite important to point out that people bring up things like Vietnam, like, things like that happened half a century ago.
Where two parts of Vietnam fought each other.
Yeah, not to mention the fact that what Russia did is recent. Moldova, Georgia, Ukraine, and not to mention the fact that he doesn't respect, he already said it, doesn't respect sovereignty and borders, so he doesn't care. But there is a big difference between...
So you're saying Hassan would be okay if America took part of Vietnam?
Probably not. So basically it doesn't make a significant, huge difference why so people, speaking of manufactured consent, one of the reasons why people are so interested in Ukraine, genuinely, right, is because wars like that are rare, especially in Europe, when there's ground invasion, when there is occupation, when there is annexation of the territory, when you grab the territory and you make it your own, you place a flag there. This is rare in 21st century, at least in Europe, pretty much anywhere, to be honest, right? And this is, I don't understand how, again, proclaimed anti-imperialists cannot see the huge difference between those things. Not to say that American invasions were all based and amazing, obviously not. But but it's a big difference.
About the manufactured consent, as much as it breaks me, not as much as it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart that Georgia was like rolled over in 5 days. It breaks my heart that Moldova was partly occupied by Russians in Transnistria, that Chechnya was like leveled and all of that, and the world couldn't help them. But like I thank God every day that. This manufactured consent like benefits us. We are like first of all rich, second of all our geopolitical
big.
We're big and we're like border Poland separate Europe from Russia.
I will also not remove our amazing generals who did stop Russians, our politicians who did scream to the whole world that is happening. I think
both Poroshenko and Zelenskyy.
There's a lot of
journalist work as well.
Thank you guys. There's a lot of moving parts.
Ethan is based, by the way, because he's like the Georgia was taken like in 3 days. That's why we don't talk about it.
And he's sexy.
He's good.
Well.
And
Just call him sexy. Wow, that's cool. Good for him.
If Ukraine was flattened in like a week,
that's what Russians plan. Precisely because of that reason, right?
Let's go a little bit further. There's some more we gotta watch with this, and then I want to ask a few questions at the end, so I don't want to leave time for questions.
Yep.
And I stand with the Ukrainian people because I think Ukraine is a force for good in the world.
Can I just stop you for a second? Because you said 100% manufactured consent. Like
that's what you said.
Nothing is genuine. I said 100% manufacturing consent is a leading role in this.
If you want to amend
the reason why the reason why I take issue with this is because it's like stating like I don't give a fuck about Ukraine. Of course I give a fuck about people in Ukraine. I want the war and the bloodshed, the unnecessary bloodshed to end. Okay, my assessment on the situation might deviate from NATO, like bloodthirsty NATO defenders or whatever.
You feel like we shouldn't even be doing anything in Ukraine.
No, I don't.
Nothing.
No.
So then you don't care about those people because they're going to get taken over. What is he talking about?
No, I don't. I think
this
that,
guy paid for the
no,
hero
I think that of course there's a necessary intervention that
Maybe I
must
should
happen.
go.
I'm not
Okay.
saying that at all. I mean, I fucking raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for Ukrainian refugees. Like, I'm sorry, this is
Okay, so you raised money for the refugees. Well, why are they refugees? Because Russia is taking over their land. Oh my God! But you're saying that they shouldn't be there in the first place. So it's like, wait, hold on. How do we parse through this information? We don't parse through this information. Thank you for letting me know, Papa. They're talking about the country, Georgia, not the state. Just letting you know. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. You're the best.
But what a silly fucking thing that, like, not from you, but I hear so much from dipshits online.
Well, let's get to dipshits. You can say that.
Suck my dick. You know?
Ooh,
got him.
You believe
I
that
come.
America's actions in Ukraine are the right ones?
I think that America's actions to a certain degree in Ukraine is understandable. It's reasonable, certainly what the Ukrainian people want. But I think America's interest in Ukraine is not genuine. It's not genuine emancipation. It's more so a continuation.
So the Ukrainian people want it, but we still shouldn't help them because why? Because America bad. There's no other reason. Oh, people are dying, but they want to defend themselves. So, like, that is terrible, but they want to defend themselves. So why not help? Why not help them defend themselves? Oh well, because he doesn't like it. Because he doesn't like America, dude. Because he's stupid. He stinks.
Bloodshed, which is demonstrated not by me, but by American politicians like Chris Murphy, who have openly said on the record that for 5% of our military budget, we've been able to cripple a foreign adversary's military budget without a single American service member dying in the process.
Good. 5% of our military budget to cripple a Russian superpower country that is antithetical to our values of freedom, democracy, trans acceptance, gay acceptance, equality for women, equality for people of color. What a terrible thing to spread that influence. Get the fuck out of here, dude. Oh, dude, I can't believe they would want to do something like that. Oh, it's so oppressive, bro. Oh, good. That's a good deal. That's like going to a fucking Dollar Tree, dude. That's like seeing something awesome at the Dollar Tree. It's like one of these Fanta Zero Sugars mystery cans of soda. Let's see what flavor. It's all purple. Every one of the cans is purple. Oh, that's true. I don't think he considered the fact that Hassan's sitting in a chair and that chair is on the ground. Therefore, it's on the ground reporting. ROI, baby. Give me that motherfucking ROI, dude. It's crazy, dude. It's crazy. I'm on it. What do you want me to feel embarrassed? Oh, well, dude, fuck Russia, dude. Suck my dick. I like Russians. Sometimes I jerk off to Russian girls. Maybe. I don't really look for it, but I'm a dog. I jerk off to everything. I saw two rocks that look like fucking boobies. I jerked off. I'm not ashamed of it. Sorry. Not sorry. But I don't like the Russian government.
I would say that that is profoundly successful. What are we doing in Ukraine? We're sending our refurbished old weapons and weapon systems to Ukraine. We have to replenish those weapon systems. It's a never-ending cycle.
Yep.
The reason I ask is because
creates jobs. Good for the economy. Grows the economy. I'm not trying to be that guy. I'm not trying to be an asshole. War's bad. But we get to defend an ally, push more Western values, take down an opponent, not spend too much money, and we get to invest into American jobs. I'm not trying to be an asshole. But, I mean, it's taking a lot of boxes here. War is bad. I would never say we should get into war for money. But, I mean, like, okay.
there seems to be somewhat of a sentiment in the left circles or social. I don't know how to even describe it. I don't know, but that the proxy war people say in Ukraine is unjustified. No, I know, but they're saying we shouldn't be supporting Ukraine and the whole.
Do you guys want to comment on anything?
Yes.
There might be it might be a level of a proxy war. Who cares? Who fucking cares? Of course it is. Of course it is. Because we want to take down Russia. They suck dick. And China, they don't suck dick. That's the problem. Russia doesn't suck enough dick. It's not gay enough over there. They don't like gays over there. I do. I love gay people, and they love me, dude. So absolutely, there's a level of it being a proxy war. Again, who gives a shit if America helps people that they have interests in? Oh, you date people you have interests in. Go help that fucking homeless guy. Go have him move in. Oh, I don't want to. Why? Because you're not interested in him. Stop telling me that it's such a bad thing that we help we help other countries because we have interests in other countries. Oh, go take home a homeless guy. You're not interested? Well, fuck. Sorry, that's how it works. Hey, we're interested in helping you guys as long as you adhere to Western values of not oppressing fucking gay people. Oh, shit! If you can't handle that, then I don't want to help you. Fuck you, dude. That's all I have to say. Okay? This is America, dude. We own the fucking finish line, bro. I'm hyped. I'm still so fucking hyped from that Joe Biden thing, dude. I'm still so hyped from Joe Biden. We gotta watch it again. We gotta watch it again. Oh my god, it's such an amazing clip. It's an amazing clip. If I don't have any money on me and a homeless guy says, hey, can I have some money? I'll sell it. I'm going to Sorry, it's a random thing. We own the I gotta get it going.
Do not scare easily. We never bow. We never bend.
Dude,
we never break.
So hype.
We are America, second to none, and we own the finish line.
Dude, it's never gonna stop. It's never gonna stop, bro. This is it. That's all. That's it, dude. I fucking love Dark Brandon, bro. Oh my god, that shit gets me hyped. It's crazy. It's crazy how hyped I get.
It's not a proxy war.
It's not a proxy war. Get back. Proxy war is when two major powers they don't participate in the conflict. If Poland was sponsoring,
I guess technically it wouldn't be a proxy war, but also even if it is, I don't give a damn.
And we were fighting with Belarus, who was sponsored by Russia.
$2.43. Papa, can you react to the full 5 NAF law breakdown?
I will be honest with you. I tried once, but I didn't have a lot to say, so I turned it off. I don't want to. I'm not trying to do non-transformative reactions.
Would be a proxy war. Russia partakes in this war.
Syrian civil war is a proxy war.
Well, he is again
Vietnam and Afghanistan were proxy wars. Korea was a proxy war.
Anyone who's saying that it's a proxy war doesn't recognize us as a nation, right?
And Russia by the way as well. Apparently, who's their proxy?
Oh, China. Multipolar war for Hassan. Any war is proxy war.
I know one guy using the word multipolar world every time he speaks. You know that guy? Well, his name is Putin.
Yeah, he does talk about that. Yeah, that's true.
I do want to ask because he
Putin a dick in my ass, dude. Fuck that guy.
He says he brought up the idea of it prolonging. Is there anything else you guys wanted to say on that?
He hides. By the way, he hides his power level when he talks with Ethan quite a lot. You can see the difference when he talks on his own stream and when he talks with him.
True. He hides his. She said his power level. That's fucking crazy, but also true. He pretends to be a nice guy. Yeah.
Even let's a round of applause for Hassan right there. He actually first time in his life said what Ukrainians seem to want. He added there.
Ukrainian people.
Yeah, but he did mention the want of Ukrainian people for once. Thank you, Hassan. Good job.
What would you say to he talked about, for example, he brought this up that he's raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for Ukrainian refugees.
I think that's good, but it's not a shield for you.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's how you know it is a shield to him. He only does this thing to make him seem like he's a good guy. It's a shield to him. Well, I raise money for refugees, so I can pretty much say whatever propagandistic bullshit that I want. That's all it is to him. He's a poo-poo wienerhead.
Mind every time that you're being pushed on like.
Do you think that's how he was using it?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. He was using it to counter.
No. You mean like did he?
Is that how he when he brought it up?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I think his help to the refugees was genuine. At least I don't have any reasons to doubt it. But he brought it up here to counter that Ethan brought up.
It's hard to believe it's genuine when he doesn't give a fuck about the people. His take is like, I think that the Ukrainians should just stop fighting because they're getting hurt. And it's like, okay, but they're getting oppressed by Russia. No, they need to reduce the conflict. It's hard to believe that this guy cares, like unless he's just so anti-West brain that like this is just how his brain operates.
That many people accused him of being like anti-Ukraine, basically. So he said, no, I
don't know if he did it as a shield, like big donations. So in the future he could use it. I can't speak into his mind. In this conversation he used it.
And not to mention refugees specifically. He always says like refugees helping people. You know what the best way?
I mean, I don't doubt it. No, I don't think that. I don't know that he would do it like actively to use it as a shield later. But, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, listen, not for nothing, but when Twitch streamers donate, you think it's all like rainbows and sunshine and lollipops? A lot of times they do it because it's expected of them, and they know that they're going to get. It's basically a marketing tactic. Now, I'm not saying that it's not genuine. I'm not saying that people don't do it genuinely. What I'm saying is that like it doesn't make it genuine just because they do it, right? If fucking Moist Critical goes and raises money for somebody, there's a safe bet that it's probably genuine. Not so much if it's Hassan. I'm not saying that it must be ingenuine. I don't know I can't jump into Hassan's brain. Okay. Although I would fit because there's nothing going on in there, even though I'm morbidly obese. But it doesn't mean that he's a good person just because a rich guy does a fundraiser. Okay. We saw fucking The Rock and Oprah doing the whole thing in Maui. We were like, what the fuck? They're not really doing very much. So same thing here, dude.
To help Ukrainian refugees and Ukrainian people. Stop military aid. Stop our country from fucking falling apart because of Russia tries to do it. That's the help you need to get.
The thing is, if U.S. and the world will stop sending us military aid, we won't stop fighting. It doesn't mean that we will be negotiating.
He's implying America should only help like
refugees,
humanitarian aid, never lethal aid, because weapons prolong.
Because people like him say that lethal aid prolongs the conflict, it brings violence.
No, it makes it shorter. More weapons.
The shorter the war for us, the better.
If we had all the weapons we have right now before Russia attacked, do you think it would even happen?
That would be better.
Right. It's like, why don't you die faster? So the war ends and, just die faster.
And the whole thing.
Yeah, I can't.
Should just take Ukraine. And
I can't speak for other. I can't speak for other leftists. I don't know what the fuck they say, but plenty of those people also despise me and say that I'm like not pushing Z or whatever. So it doesn't fucking matter.
I thought I heard Richard Wolff has some kind of thing like that.
I can't speak on Richard Wolff either. There's disagreements that I have with Richard Wolff. You had
so you're down with what's happening. Down with
I'm not down with what's happening in Ukraine because I want the bloodshed to end, and the only way to do that is by bringing China to the table, bringing America to the table. The real actors here.
You think Ukraine should have some secessions to Russia?
I think the original.
I heard someone say the real actors here. Was that something that?
Yes, that's the talk of imperialist multipolar person.
Can somebody explain why they don't like that terminology?
Because he makes a claim that we should bring China, we should bring Russia and America to the table. Real players. Ukraine. Ukraine by that logic is not a real player. What are we even? I don't even know. That's what they say quite often.
Maybe that thinking is going to change when Russia's going to lose.
Probably. Who knows? Yeah.
Let's see.
6-point plan that was a continuation of the Minsk Accords that were tried twice and failed twice would be a far preferable situation than like endless bloodshed over inches of territory where people are being fucking slaughtered.
I don't think the Ukrainians would describe it as inches of territory.
Wait, what do you mean?
Well, you're saying they're fighting over
what do you mean? Well, it's where they live.
Of territory.
It's just saying in the context of how stagnated the war has become. Like the back.
No, he's downplaying how important it is for them to like that land is to them. That's what he's doing.
Fourth is pretty much ground to a halt at this point, and
this is what I mean. It's like a very cynical interpretation of what I'm trying to say.
It's very because you're a cynical dick. Of course, it's a cynical interpretation of what you're saying. You're downplaying people. Of course, it's going to be cynical. I'm here for the fucking. The breakup here. Oh, thanks, dude. Are you gonna help? What the hell?
Inches of territory physically when we speak about it.
But I think Ukrainian people get angry when they hear you talk about it because
that's understandable. I mean,
they
I get
feel
it.
Like
they want full-throated support. They want and expect full-throated support, right?
They understandably want that, and they want more than that. They also wanted Article 5. They wanted full NATO protections and NATO nation.
They don't like that you say that they should secede territory to a fascist invasion.
It's not even secession of territory. It's like prior agreements that neither party has held on to. The real Ukrainian...
I'm sorry, we had prior agreements before Minsk.
That's false equivalence.
I did want to bring up quickly. He proposes as an alternative to continuing sending military aid to try to push the Russians out of the country with force.
With real players.
A Minsk 3. So, like you guys already know, Minsk 1 and 2 was an attempted negotiation between the Russians and the Ukrainians to try to find some peaceful solution for the Russian invasion after 2014. Both failed.
It was
he is
demands
saying-
from Russia.
Yeah.
He is saying now it should be there should be a third Minsk version of that, a third attempt at that. What do you guys think of that?
Well, you failed 2 times. Let's fail
I like
one
how
time.
he's referring to agreements where it obviously benefited Russia more
Yeah, it was coercion.
as the agreements that we should stick to, rather than the agreements that we had decades before that was fair on all accounts.
I'm not sure that he knows that.
And Hollande, the Prime Minister of France, who, by the way, wrote an amazing memoir of negotiations in Minsk. You have to read that. He described the behavior of Putin and Poroshenko, how they fought all night, how Putin refused to acknowledge the truth that Russian troops are in Ukraine, and that's the biggest part of that we were forced to finally sign that agreement. Which doesn't recognize Russian forces in Ukraine, but agreement was signed by Russia for some reason. And then they were like, we're not in Ukraine, so we can't do anything. You have to talk to the...
Third parties, DPR, LPR, people.
Yeah, actual republics who didn't have any agency. And he said that both parties, Ukraine and Russia, broke the Minsk Accords. Okay, when you are shot with shrapnel with...
You know what I think one of the issues here is with where Hassan doesn't understand what's going on is because he's like he's a 30-something-year-old man that's not in a relationship, so he doesn't understand how to create relationships or maintain relationships, right? Like, let's be real. That's kind of true. He doesn't know how to maintain a relationship with Russia. He doesn't understand, or with Ukraine, an ally. He doesn't understand that Russia constantly breaking different agreements would hurt their trust of the Ukrainian people. He doesn't get it because he's not really in a relationship. He's a 30-something-year-old man-child.
Artillery was grads.
He doesn't know what it's like to compromise with other people. That's all it boils down to.
All of that on the military position, you have to retaliate, shoot back from the position you just found out the shots were shot from. Otherwise,
Counter battery fire.
Counter battery fire is like it should be done because.
What you're saying is basically Russia broke agreements as well.
Russia broke agreements, we retaliated, and he's like, oh, both are equally bad. Okay.
Yeah, both sides.
The both sides thing. Wait, I do have one more.
Wait, just about the thing that Ivan said. This is like this. When this main thing about the Minsk thing that didn't work out was the fact that one of the main points was, just as you said, to remove foreign formations, foreign armies from our territory. And Russia did not only they didn't do it. Obviously, they at the time said that there are no Russians there. Just as they did. Just as it lied Hassan moment. Weaselly little liar, dude. He was a weaselly little liar, Putin, because he said, but there was nobody in Crimea, Russian, they were, we know that now. There was no people in Donbass. By the way, Utkin was in Donbass, Girkin was in Donbass, Russian military personnel.
Girkin was even saying, he was recalling how they were forcing people to vote during referendum in Crimea under the barrel of the gun, which he was holding.
Even Putin himself afterwards, of course, said that there were indeed Russian troops there. But but Hassan plays it up as this, we are equal in this regard. Why, it's just it's both-sided and make it seem like both sides, he even says it, I think, both sides are shelling each other.
So this is the last clip. This is from the same podcast we were just watching. This is him talking specifically around Minsk and why it failed and the war in the Donbass.
How did Ukraine violate their agreement?
There was mass shelling on both sides, like back and forth shelling. No, back and forth shelling that has been happening since 2004.
Okay.
With 13 or 14,000 people dying.
Okay, so
in totality. So at the time there was a agreement called the Minsk Agreements. There were 2 versions of this, which neither side agreed upon, which meant that LPR and DPR would still remain under Ukraine, but would have autonomy. Okay, and Ukraine understandably did not want this because that would mean that Russia would have an outsized control on Ukrainian affairs and Ukrainian politics, which it already did through Russian loyalist leadership that they had. That was obviously squashed because there's always been this back and forth between Western influence in Ukraine, wanting to move them into the Western sphere of influence, and Eastern influence.
Good. We should move them into Western influence.
Was Russian influence in Ukraine, which wanted to maintain Ukraine's status and wanted to change Ukrainian affairs.
Okay, so they were both attacking each other, and you think the attacks were equally provocative? And again, I don't know anything about it.
I think that this was another instance of proxy war, 100%.
Okay.
Like, there are people who wanted to...
That's all he has to say, is it's just another America bad take. It doesn't matter that Ukraine has, like, that they should have the right to be able to exist as their own independent state with what they want, because it's a proxy war. So since America's involved, America is bad. That's all it boils down to.
Be a part of Russia, and at the end,
all he has to do is attach America to something, and it becomes bad. What's a proxy war? Why does it matter? Why does it matter if it is, even if it was a proxy war? Because that doesn't change the fact that that Ukraine wants help. That doesn't change the fact that they want to take their land. They want to maintain their land. They don't want to be invaded. They don't want to be attacked. Why does that matter? That's his only argument, is that America's bad.
End of the day, though, like the reaction from the Ukrainian government to that was understandable. They wanted to protect their own interests. They wanted to protect their own borders. They wanted to protect their
It's understandable, but America bad. So
and
it's understandable.
And national security interests.
America's bad.
I don't understand. If people want to be part of Russia, they can go to Russia. We don't want to be like part of Poland or part of Germany. We want to be Ukraine, and we want to live like our neighbors in the Europe. And
So the first thing I wanted to ask about was his shelling on both sides in reference to why the Minsk Accords failed. How would you guys react to that comment?
It's a Russian.
Russian narrative, pretty much. Yeah.
It is a Russian book. It's like that. There are 8 years of bombing of Donbass children. It's.
I think the agreements were not upheld. You could. It's very. I feel like it's very difficult, especially in that region during that time, to determine who did it first. We can only
we know who invaded first. That
right.
which he doesn't mention.
We can only guess who broke them first, especially if Russia was saying that their troops weren't even there. So in
this situation, you have to give perspective when you talk about. You have to mention the invader, who is the invader, who did the first, who attacked first, who broke the legitimate borders first, who annexed territory. You have to mention that our actions are retaliation. Not to mention the fact that Minsk, as you said, was forced upon us by both Russia and the West. It was a diplomatic, so to speak, solution to the problem that cannot be resolved diplomatically because we're dealing with after Russia. That is a fascist country hell-bent on imperialist expansion, and that does not keep its word on anything.
Yes.
So how do you negotiate with people like that? You can only negotiate with people who uphold the negotiations.
And what is the mass shelling on the best
side?
What did we mass shell?
He makes appeals. He talked about it in previous clips. I can mention. He basically makes appeals to this 14,000 number. All Latniks do. It's
the 14,000. It's like every casualty.
It's Russian forces. It's separatist forces. It's Ukrainian armed forces. They sometimes make a claim that 14,000 is civilians killed by Ukraine.
I know that. They do that.
Yeah, they do that. And in Gravel video, pretty much things like that happen. And 30-something thousand civilians.
I also like to mention that separatist forces are basically Ukrainians. A lot of them who are forced to fight against our own countrymen. And this is like a huge tragedy that is still happening today. Thousands and thousands of people just grabbed off the street and forced under the barrel of the gun to go.
And imagine that, if you were 10 years old when in 2014, when
they scrambled.
Let's say your father was conscripted. By now you would be conscripted and sent to die to Ukraine, and you're a Ukrainian child,
And I wanted to ask about at the end. Ethan asked a very interesting question because when they talked about the shell on both sides, he asked, was it equally provocative?
Yes, good question.
Which kind of got to the heart of the issue of Russia invading and then being shelled after they invade the country. And Hassan chose to not answer the question. He instead said, well, it's a proxy war. He didn't answer why, if it was provocative or who was more provocative.
I think it's pretty clear now.
Why do you think he didn't want to answer that question?
The answer is not.
He didn't have one.
Probably he doesn't know anything about it.
He didn't have one, so his line is like, both sides.
Or he knows and he just doesn't want to say.
I wouldn't go so far as to go this stupid. I think this allows him to preserve the narrative, basically. He already stood on this narrative for a year and a half now, and he really needs to both side this to somehow show himself as not a pro-Russian, invasion person, but also always return the wheels to the fact that it's somehow America's fault in this exact.
Yeah, he wants to come off as he's being reasonable. He wants to come off as he's being reasonable as he downplays, where he basically just said, again, makes another America bad take. But he tries to sound reasonable. Well, it's just a proxy war. Who cares if it was a proxy war? Does that invalidate the rights of the Ukrainians? He can't answer basic questions on it.
Video that we will not probably be watching, he basically talks about the nukes, about Ukraine giving away nukes due to Budapest Memorandum agreements, where Russia and America were both guarantees of our sovereignty, supposedly, and he talks about it and he says Ukraine should not have given up nukes. There's a bunch of conversation there about that. Yeah. But then he was like, if you don't have nukes, America will come and fuck you up in the context of Ukraine and Russia. I apologize, Hassan. Who came and fucked us up because we don't have nukes? I'm pretty sure it ain't Yankees.
Now we've watched...
Ooh, Yankees. Got him!
Well over an hour, maybe an hour and a half we've had about dialogue and review of Hassan talking about the war. Obviously, I've showed you certain clips. This isn't the breadth of everything he's ever said about the conflict. But from what you have seen here...
We'll see Hassan talk about his balls.
Knowing that this isn't everything, and there's probably moments where he did sound better, or he might have, had different perspectives that might have viewed differently. What do you think about what he has said and what you have seen?
Can I start?
Sure.
In the shortest way possible, Hassan is a Russian apologist. He repeats Russian talking points, Russian propaganda, Russian narratives to a lot of audience, a lot of people in his audience. He's the biggest streamer, I presume, political streamer on Twitch at least. And what he does harms Ukraine. It undermines.
He's a wiener. That's what I have to say.
People's support for Ukraine. It's very, very damaging, and he also does not recognize us as a people of, who have will of their own, who have values of their own. He basically repeats imperialist talking points. He only talks about big countries, big players in that, American exceptionalist, if you will, and he only talks about that because he genuinely doesn't care or doesn't understand that other people exist, and wars in Europe and Asia existed way before American states, United States existed, and yeah, he's just very either blind or he's straight up doing this on purpose, basically. Yeah, undermining, and also, of course, he both siding like crazy to reduce accountability of Russia in that sense, and to place blame on another actor, which would be United States, because he has America bad brain rot. That's it.
We live
Damn. That's true. That is all very true. Very based.
in a world where his words directly impact lives of Ukrainians. And he doesn't contribute anything good. And because of what he says...
You don't think there's anything he said on Ukraine that has been valuable?
The amount of stuff that he's parroting from Russia...
I mean, yeah, sure. He probably said some things that were right. That doesn't mean that, overall what he's saying is positive. So...
It's just to thousands and thousands of people. He just contributes absolute negativity to, our livelihoods, basically, of people in this room. Because if our lives are currently dependent on military support of our country, if we didn't have military support, some of us may not have been here.
Yeah, definitely. Should I say? Okay, so I see the person who actually who is so far from understanding what is happening here and what we are going through, and who actually doesn't think that something like that might happen to him, as I said before. So all those Russian propaganda narratives, he's repeating them, as Anna said, definitely playing for Russia, maybe, who knows, probably unconsciously, I cannot judge here, but he definitely works for Russia and harms our situation and our lives. Maybe not consciously, but something he says actually affects the aid. It could affect the aid, because he has definitely hundreds of thousands of people, as you said, guys, listen to him. And I actually would propose him to speak to Ukrainians more, to listen to Ukrainians more. Of course, I've heard something that he doesn't probably know that we existed, that he doesn't, he thinks that we are still part of Soviet Union and that we need to be gathered back to that shithole. But we are here, we are Ukrainians. Talk to us if you want to know more about this shit, about our personal experience.
So I just want to ask a bunch of rapid questions.
Yeah, but then he'd have to have you on to talk to you, and he doesn't like to do that. So how is he going to do that? You
guys, quick responses.
First
off, how does it make you feel to know that he is the largest political streamer in existence?
Disgusting.
And somehow disappointing, to be honest.
Because I used to watch him.
Yeah, it is upsetting because of the just sheer amount of the audience he has. If he was a little YouTuber, little streamer, I wouldn't care that much, to be honest. But in his case, he does have genuine influence over people, of how they vote, of how they think, of how they will vote for the politicians.
I mean, he had a presidential candidate.
Yeah, not to mention that. Yeah, she probably obviously wouldn't win, but still, he has a very big reach to people, and because of that, he's spreading either straight up Russian narratives or very old, colonial, back in the day Russian imperialist talking points, Soviet Union, apologia, all of that is very dangerous, not only to Ukraine, but to other people here as well, Georgia, Moldova.
All the Europe, and it's dangerous to all the Europe, because the more prominent Russia becomes, and the more evil shit Russia does, the power of far-right parties in Europe, everywhere in the world rises, because the alternative for Germany is have great support.
Le Pen nearly won.
Le Pen nearly won.
We only got 2 minutes left here, so I want to ask one last question. And the
Why don't I have 2 minutes? What do you kick him out?
last question is, for the people who watch this content, would you say that you would expect them, if they were to just get their opinions on the war from watching Hassan, and a lot of people do get their news, whether it's good or bad, from political streamers, that they would have a good or bad or some other type of understanding of conflict? Would it be a good understanding, a bad understanding, something in the middle?
It would be horrendous understanding.
Right, watch me.
I do encourage people to watch, Dobson. Dylan, he knows what's up, he knows he has been there, and he's one of the American people who I genuinely think understand what is going on here, and also cares, which is quite important. And also, for example, people like Lonerbox, who is my favorite lefty, and he is very great in covering what
Yeah, I've heard his name before. It's interesting.
Hasan talked, like debunking it, and if anyone from Hasan's audience is actually interested, they could watch Londerbox's videos and see what's up.
Or they could follow Anna on Twitter.
That's also true.
Or they could watch Rick on YouTube.
Bro, I'll never follow anybody on Twitter. That place is a fucking toxic shithole. Fuck Twitter, dude. What the hell?
Or they could watch Thompson on Kick.
That's right.
Yeah.
Anything else? We good?
Or you
Anyone
go
wanna say bye?
onto Twitter.
Bye guys, thank you for watching.
All right, there's that. Then there's a response. So apparently Hassan responded. He's not going to watch it, of course, but he responded to it without watching it, which is, always the best way to operate. And we're going to see what he said. We're going to see how much he fucking melted down.
For those of you who said, Chad, has he responded to Dylan Burns' post, by the way, before getting clapped? If you think
we got clapped,
that I would entertain such a psychotic thing in my life, I don't know what to tell you. There's nothing more perverted and psychopathic.
Thanks for your video. It's incredibly important to give you.
It's psychopathic for people in Ukraine to give the voice their opinions. Psychopath. I agree, Hassan. I fucking agreed.
Ukrainians of voices. People like Hassan want to take it away. I don't know. I wouldn't go that far. I don't want to say he wants to take away the voices of Ukrainians. I don't think he wants to listen, but I don't think he wants to take away their voices. I could lean into it though. I could be like, and I thought about this, and I thought it would be funny, but I decided against it. I could just come up here and be like, Hassan,
you're gay.
Cis male streamer, wealthy, upper class, living in the United States, wants to speak over the colonized people of
kind of based
Ukraine. Like, I don't have any interest in grandstanding today. I have zero interest in grandstanding today. So all I'm gonna do
a granular stand.
Play Hassan's response to the video. I'll respond to it. There's not much to respond to.
Yeah, that's true. They let a woman speak. You're right. That's probably why Hassan was upset.
It shouldn't take too long.
Okay.
So for those of you who don't know what's going on, I released earlier today in the AM, about 11 hours ago, this interviews with 4 Ukrainians.
Yeah.
The video of the title is called Ukrainians Respond to Hassan. And in the video, I ask these 4 Ukrainians their opinions of different things said by Twitch's #1 political streamer, #1 political commentator, Hassan about the war. Hassan said many things about the war from before it started, a few weeks beforehand, all the way up till today. And a lot of those things have been critiqued by Ukrainian content creators that I know, by Ukrainians that I know, and I have had Hassan's name come up in casual conversation with Ukrainians that I know in the country, and not in a positive light. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought about that interview that Hassan did with, I think it was GQ? You guys know the interview I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, the one where he said he like set the trend of political streaming, even though that was Destiny. Yeah.
In that interview, if those of you who don't know, he says that he loves critique, takes critique very well. He likes it. He likes to be critiqued because he's challenging himself as a content creator. And considering that I was having Hassan's name multiple times,
the lies
off camera from Ukrainians complaining about things that he said, I thought, you know what? I think it would make sense. Sit down and have Ukrainians add their takes to the conversations that Hassan is having, which I think could benefit from a Ukrainian perspective. For example,
listen, Dylan, shut the fuck up. All right, I don't say that to be mean, but let's not pretend. Oh, I criticized Hassan because he said he's open to criticism. Get out of here, dude. You criticize Hassan, he's a fucking idiot. Okay, that's all. That's what it boils down to. And what he's saying is dangerous.
And I didn't even do this clip in the video. I talked about it during the intro, which you can see on screen right now.
He's a fucking
when Hassan was talking
dingus.
about right sector snipers killing Euromaidan protesters. That is something where if there was a Ukrainian in the room, that conversation would have gone very differently. If there was Euromaidan protesters in the room, which I think 2 of the people I interviewed for that interview were former Euromaidan protesters. I know Anna was. I interviewed her about it. I think the conversation would have went very differently. I think when he said that the attack on the Kerch Bridge was a war crime, if you had not even a Ukrainian, but just like an international law scholar in the room with him, talking to him, then he probably would have talked about it a little differently. 1 second, I'm in a I think I'm in a
I think that everybody could benefit from looking into the lore of World of Warcraft, because it is very interesting. You have these it's very interesting the way that happened. Basically, none of the orcs were never in this land. They came from a different land. They took over territory. They attacked the Alliance, but then the Alliance oppressed them. and then the horde tried to go to lands that were uninhabited, and now there's just deep conflict. You know what I mean? That's basically life in a nutshell. Am I right? You know what I mean? That's like the real world. I don't know what I'm saying.
Anyway, I'll ignore it.
Oh, I burped.
The point is, I think that there was a lot of commentary from Hassan that could benefit from a Ukrainian perspective. Hassan has said before that he's fine with critique, he's okay with critique, and this kept coming up in personal conversations with Ukrainians. His content, his messages kept coming up. Why did it keep coming up? Well, he's the most popular Twitch streamer that covers politics on this platform. It makes sense that the things he would say would travel outside the borders of the continental United States and would also make its way to the countries that are being discussed. Okay, I'm sorry. I keep
the hell is that?
Getting brought up in this WhatsApp conversation. I gotta mute it.
The fuck is WhatsApp?
You know what they're talking about? They're talking about how terrible my video is and how awesome Hassan is. Anyway, where were we? Point is, I think it's valid for me to use my platform to give Ukrainians a platform to add their voice to the conversations that are being had on Twitch and being had on YouTube. I think that much of the frustration that I'm hearing from Ukrainians is derived from the fact that
Ukrainians
conversations in Western media, both mainstream and alternative, their perspectives are not included and people will talk on their behalf. Now, I'm not even saying Hassan does, but I'm saying that that's a problem generally in Western press. Not only in Western press, but in international press generally. This isn't only a problem with Ukraine. This is a problem in Myanmar when it comes to their civil war against the military junta. This is a problem when it comes to Gaza and Israel. This is a problem when it comes to any number of conflicts around the world, any number of wars around the world. And so I wanted to platform people who, in some instances, were displaced from their home, turned into refugees by the Russian invasion, have lost family members to the Russian invasion, and are being colonized currently by the Russian government. I thought it would be a good idea to give them a platform to speak instead of me doing a video where I'm like, hey guys, here's all the things that I disagree with Hassan. Number one, he's a doo-doo head. I didn't want to do that because I can complain about Hassan any day of the week I want if I really want to complain about Hassan. Any other Twitch streamer can complain about Hassan any other day of the week they want.
Trust me, I do.
But I think it's more valuable than me just repeating things that I've probably already said a million times, or you guys have heard me say a million times. Getting Ukrainians on the record about what they think about his commentary surrounding the war is important. Not
Do
only
I use Kiwi Farms? No, I'm a grown fucking man, bro.
for them being platformed and their voices being included, but also for the historical record. So that once this is all over, there can't be a statement of like, well, when this person said that, they didn't know that, you know, Ukrainians didn't appreciate that. And there can't be a claim to ignorance. There's a historical record. And so these are a few of the reasons as to why I did this video. You guys can go watch it on your own if you want. It's an hour and 38 minutes long.
I already did.
It's a doozy. It's all
Bitch.
timestamped for different segments and different clips that Hassan has made. I didn't include every clip he's ever said because I didn't want to keep them all day. I have to give them some respect. And if I didn't include your favorite clips, I'm very sorry. If you want them to react to those clips or if you want their commentary on it, maybe they'll give it to you. I know that most of these people have Twitters at the start. If you wanted to ask them more about their perspectives surrounding the war, or if you just wanted to go follow them and support their content or just them on Twitter and social media, you can do that. Anyway, moving on. I released this and Hassan responded to it on stream today. And I don't know exactly what I expected. I don't know exactly what I thought he would say. To be frank, I just thought he wouldn't respond to it. I thought he would just ignore it and move on.
No, I think it kind of blew up though. He kind of had to respond to it. It was a pretty big thing. I mean, Hassan's all the rage right now because he's just such a shithead. Like, how many views did this get?
High.
It got 50K. That's pretty good, man. That's crazy.
Because I thought, you know, it'd be the easiest thing to do. And it probably would be the smartest thing to do if he didn't want to have a horse comes to water and actually drink moment. Instead of a horse, you take a horse to water, can't make him drink.
How about you make him drink my piss?
Having that moment where he's like, actually, yeah, that thing I said about the right sector snipers was probably not true. Or, well, you know, the targeting of the Kerch bridge wasn't a war crime. Or having one of those moments where he has to reflect on that on stream or off stream. I didn't expect that. And that's not what happened. Instead, this is the response we got.
For those of you who said, chat, has he responded to Dylan Burns' post, by the way, before getting clapped? If you think that I would entertain such a psychotic thing ever in my life, I don't know what to tell you. There is nothing more perverted. And psychopathic than literally putting
talking to Ukrainians.
Ukrainian people in Ukraine that are being fucking bombed, okay, by an invading force that is unjustifiably occupying their country, making Ukrainians sit down and fucking watch my clips out of fucking context in a way.
Making them sit down? They all wanted to. They all knew who you are. What is he talking about?
The way that you have framed it to have them go, oh, wow, how fucked up, fuck this guy.
Like 3 out of the 4 of them already knew about Hassan and already knew about his clips and were not happy with what he said. Only one of them was fresh to Hassan. So this argument doesn't even make sense. It doesn't hold any water.
It is literally the most unimaginably insane thing I've ever seen.
Guys, it's doing doing on the ground research is fucking psychotic. Fuck.
In my entire life, it completely betrays how much you care about the conflict that you are covering.
That's true.
On the ground, it's nasty as fuck.
Nasty. Psychopathic, unbelievable.
Damn, Hassan's response is fucking terminal. Holy shit.
Unbelievable, nasty.
What a fucking baby.
It's such a weird psychopathic thing to do.
Psychopathic, dude. That's crazy. I'm gonna come.
Nasty. Unthinkable. My
This
God.
is crazy.
I am the devil himself. Okay, so
It's so funny because Hassan wants to sit here and talk about how he has such a positive influence in the world when it comes to spreading socialism. But then the second that people criticize him for his negative influence, all of a sudden it's psychopathic, and you shouldn't be bothered to react to him because who cares really? Because that's the underlying statement there. It's like, oh, you're gonna make them watch Hassan? What does it matter? What do I have to say? What does that matter? It does, because you're pushing misinformation. What are you talking about? You're a fucking propaganda machine at this point. I mean, you've effectively admitted it when you said we're all propagandists. I'm not. Propaganda is intentionally trying to mislead people based on information. That's what you might do, but that's not what anybody. That's what I do.
First things first, I didn't clip any of his stuff out of context. Now, if he wants to point to any clip that was specifically taken out of context in the video, I'd be happy to listen to it. I'd be happy to listen to him.
The clips they showed were like long as fuck. How are they out of context?
I think he watched the video. I think
that's like the new go-to, because there's that whole clip where Hassan was like, yeah, well, I think it's a good thing that girls that, I don't know, rich people go to different colleges, because then the rich girls will get raped, and it's better off that they get raped than like non-rich girls. It's like, what the fuck? And people are like, that's out of context. What's the context there? What's the context there saying it's like I don't understand. That's rape apologia. I mean, if you're okay with those types of jokes, which I don't think that they're jokes. He's not funny. He doesn't know how to make jokes. He's not Papa Gut. Then like, okay, that's fucking crazy to me. Like, what a statement. You know what I mean? It's not out of context. You just don't care. You're just another fucking dickhead.
Probably happened from his reaction that he's giving right now is that he saw the ad for it. He saw a 1-minute ad, then didn't watch the video, then jumped to a bunch of conclusions based off the ad, and is now going on this rant, throwing insults and hurling this and hurling that. I'd assume that he saw in the ad, which we can play. Yeah, we can play it in a moment. Yeah, we might as well play it.
Yeah, I guess so.
He saw this ad that I posted on Twitter, and he jumped to conclusions about what the video entailed or included or didn't include. Here's the ad that we released.
Is 1,000. NATO is 1,000% an aggressor outside fucking force, okay? Russia is not. Russia annexing its own territory full of its own fucking people.
Wait, what's the out of context there? You said that.
Is not the same as NATO being like, we're going to turn your country into a fucking base and put literal fucking military bases and rockets into your country.
Saying that Russia is grabbing their territories is a total bullshit. They are grabbing the territories of what, Soviet Union, the empire that collapsed.
Anyway, you saw what I clipped. So I think that he watched this, right? And he saw all these Ukrainians go on to Big Shock, criticize that take. And he is angry because he thinks that I presented it as if he supports Russia, supports the invasion.
He does. Just to be clear, like, he effectively does. And I understand that clip makes it look like that, but if you listen to Hassan, you listen to the massive downplaying language of the atrocities that Russia is committing, and then you look at the way he criticizes other people who do similar or not even as bad, you'll realize, like, oh, he doesn't care. He's justifying it because it's an anti-West narrative.
I am showing a clip, and I say this in the video, and I show this in the video, and I specifically pause the interview to explain this. I say in the video clearly, and I point this out to the people to make sure that they know, that the people I'm interviewing, that this is a clip from February 21st, 3 days before the Russians formally invaded Ukraine. It was the day where the Russians announced the annexation of Donetsk and Luhansk. That is what he's reacting to here. I give them that context in the video. I think he saw the ad, assumed I didn't give the context, and then just jumped to conclusions without even listening to these people's perspective.
Well, I mean, regardless, you know that's how he's going to react to it. So, you did clip chimp a little bit there based on that, but still, fuck him.
He saw one clip and just assumed the whole video was just like some hit piece. I even multiple times clarified in the video, and I don't even know if it was my responsibility to do it, but I did it anyway because I think it's the right thing to do. I clarified multiple times in the video that he does not support the invasion. He does not support the Russian government. He believes they're too nationalistic. He believes they're too imperialist. He doesn't like them, and he doesn't like the invasion. I clarified that. Now, people I was interviewing didn't really put much weight to it because of the other things that he said, and for what they said was him carrying Russian talking points.
Yeah, because he was.
Whether it be around the Kerch bridge attack or the right sector snipers. But I included that context. I just think that he probably didn't watch the video, didn't want to listen to Ukrainians critique him for an hour and a half. It probably doesn't feel good to listen to people who are being bombed critique you for an hour and a half. And so
yeah,
instead,
that's probably
he just
not
said I
the bomb.
misclipped him, or, you know, misquoted him in some way. So if he wants to say that, he can, you know, find a clip and say, here's the stuff that's out of context. Here's why it's out of context. He can do that if he wants, but I don't think he's going to put in that effort. I have no belief that he's going to put in that effort. As for the idea that it's psychopathic to go to Ukraine and interview Ukrainians about what Western commentators are saying about the war, when Ukrainians know that what Westerners believe about the war is going to help determine the future of their country, I don't think that's psychopathic to do. I don't think it's psychopathic.
I think he meant it's like he knows that watching his own like. I think Hassan meant like, oh, watching my content is it's so terrible because it's such garbage to force them to watch that absolute dog shit. That's psychopathic. I can't believe you would subject them to having to watch that. It's fucking crazy. What the hell is this? The hell? I got a little person. The fuck is this guy? Get out of here, idiot. I got like a little gnome. That's crazy. Look at this little thing. You see this little thing? This is for the WoW event. Because they released a new mobile game. And it's just a toy. That's like the new mobile game. So like you get like one of the minifigures from that's the lore of it. And like here's my thing, dude. I would do it. I would like it's a toy. It's not a person. It's a minifigure. It's a toy. So I mean I'd rather do that, you know what I'm saying? But I would do it. I would see I would go in there. I would see what's going on with that arm. It looks like Mega Man, you know what I mean? It's just about the right size to fit something in there, you know what I mean? You know, that's at least for me. I would try it out. I don't think that's a hot take, okay?
To give Ukrainians a platform to critique Western commentary about the war. I don't think it's psychopathic.
Is a curd.
Oh.
Incredible.
Flemmy gave CO_of_Bavavna a tier 1 subscription. Was Hassan ever on Hippy Dippy? Did he ever interact with you? How come he has no idea about your modus operandi?
Modus
He's interacted with
operandi.
me a few times. I remember once I critiqued him for his takes on Taiwan because again he said in the GQ interview that he liked critique. I critiqued him in that interview. No, I didn't critique that interview, but I critiqued his position on Taiwan, and that got him to block me. And then he once called me like a ruthless neoliberal, and that's the only commentary I know that Hassan has made about me. But now I'm also a pervert, a psychopath.
Me too. Wait.
And all number of nasty, nasty things on top of a neoliberal, a ruthless neoliberal. I sound like one of the Koch brothers when Hassan's describing me. I sound like the person. I am the PR guy of Raytheon, Raytheon.com, man. Perverted.
I know this is a random thought, but you guys know how the whole red pill movement is based off the Matrix, you know? Somehow, I guess, despite the fact that we're all being controlled by this mystical Matrix force that only red pillars can see, that somehow they made a movie that details all the problems of the world and the red pills and the blue pills, and there's a lot of inspiration taken. I don't know if you knew this. What I find really funny about that is that the two people who made that movie, they were brothers. They're now sisters. They're trans. You can look it up. And I just think it's so funny that you've created an entire movement based off of a movie that trans people made, because people in the manosphere and the red pill people also hate trans people. So it's just kind of funny to me, you know? So I don't know. The red pill, blue pill, you're sitting here saying one's the truth, one's false. I'm sitting here saying one's fucking testosterone and one's estrogen. All right? Which one are you taking? Oh, the red pill? That's estrogen, pussy. Fuck you, dude.
Just evil in all ways. But anyway, I think that's probably what happened. We didn't misquote him. I don't think it's psychopathic to platform Ukrainians to critique Western commentary. And also, can I just say that these aren't children. I mean, these are grown adults. Every single person I interviewed is older than me.
Damn.
Every single
They're
person.
grooming
These are
you.
grown adults who brought up you, at least one of them brought up you in private conversations before he even brought up this idea. And then when the idea was floated, they were all excited to do it. All of them. And if he wants to look on Twitter right now to what Anna or Popsen or Rick or any of the people who are involved in this interview are saying about how the interview was done or saying about how the interview looks, all of them seem to be pretty happy with the result. So don't pick up a sword and become a warrior for these Ukrainians like I'm taking advantage of them, like I'm manipulating all of these people who are grown adults who can speak for themselves, who have their own minds, have their own thoughts. Don't pretend that I'm using them as some spear to come after you for attention or clout or something. They wanted to be interviewed about this, and the ones that didn't bring it up to me beforehand, when asked about it, were very happy to do it.
They're grown adults. They can decide for themselves. Let's not
True
treat them like
that.
children.
True
they might
that,
live in a war
dude.
zone. Doesn't mean they're like.
I
You know,
agree,
they got mental
brother.
problems or something. They can
I
make
agree.
decisions.
They might have PTSD, dude. Post-traumatic. What does the S stand for? Something disorder.
It can consent to an
I don't
interview.
remember.
Also, can I just quickly say, lastly,
Yeah, this guy sounds kind of like
Twitch's top political.
this guy sounds kind of like that one guy. That's kind of like that one guy, Robert Franco or whatever his name is. You know, like the YouTuber. You know what I'm talking about? I fucking forget his name. James Franco. You got tell me who I'm talking about in chat, and I'll say it.
Commentator, and you're talking about a
Stress,
war where
thank you.
people are
Stress
dying.
disorder.
You cannot be surprised when hundreds of thousands to millions of people listen to you when talking about that war. Not be surprised when people who are directly feeling the
Oh,
consequences
she
of
got a
that war
plane, dude.
are going to
Oh,
critique
shit.
your commentary if you slip up. You cannot be surprised. If I did this with Tucker Carlson, if I said, "Hey, look at these Tucker Carlson clips. What do you think? This guy was the #1 name in news on TV. What do you guys think of that?" There would be no problem with this. There'd be
Not
no problem
James
with it
Franco,
because
dude.
everyone would say that
Philip DeFranco. That's what I'm talking about.
It's a TV personality. That's Tucker Carlson. He's such a big audience. He also has different politics than Hassan, and so that's probably another reason why he'd be probably okay with that. This is all perfectly fine because they're trying to counter that misinformation. But now that it's a Twitch streamer, oh, now it's unserious. He's a Twitch streamer. He's not, a TV host. He's not Tucker Carlson. It's different.
He's not
It isn't
Tucker
different.
Carlson.
It isn't different because you still inform people on politics and have a very large audience. People make opinions about the war based on what they hear from his stream. So I think it would make sense
True
that if this
that.
conversation is happening,
My
ratings
doodle.
be included.
This guy's too fast.
Especially considering
I won.
that I have
Yeah.
time and time again, over again, repeated my position. Okay?
Repeated my position.
That it is completely unjustifiable
Completely
to invade Ukraine.
unjustifiable.
Russia is cruel for doing such an act.
Damn, what a hot
Again,
take, bro.
I say this in the video.
Damn.
He didn't watch the video. In the video, I say to them, "Hey, he
The way he talks about it is such a drastic downplay. I don't think he believes what he's saying.
condemns the Russian invasion. He's
just-
against the
I don't-
Russian government.
I don't think
He
he's
does
against
not
the Russian.
support
I don't think he
invasion.
cares.
I stopped the interview to make sure that the interviewees know that because I want to make sure that they're not having a completely just like slanted view of them. If I hear them say something about Hassan that isn't true or assume something about Hassan that I know isn't true, I push back against it in the interview. But I would say to Hassan, why do you think people would watch these clips about things that you said and then jump to those conclusions? Maybe it's because some of the talking points you repeated were Russian propaganda talking points.
A lot of them.
Like the right sector snipers.
And that Ukrainians...
But again, I clarified. I clarified that he is against the invasion. The reason those people are critiquing Hassan isn't because they think that he's pro-invasion, that he's in favor of Russia invading and capturing Kiev. The reason that they're critiquing Hassan is because they think he said things that are wrong about the war.
Because he smells like farts, bro. That's
About
why
the war,
he's a
or
bitch.
just they disagree with. That's why they're critiquing him. Not because they believe that he's Vladimir Putin's right-hand man. But again, he would know that if he watched it.
Yeah,
He didn't
Hassan's a trust fund kid. Yeah.
watch the interview. So again, jumping to conclusions, which he does all the time.
Now it makes sense as to why he would downplay like the sexual assault of rich women and basically insinuate that they deserved it because he would be one of the guys that would go to one of those schools and would be committing that crime. No, I'm not saying he would ever do that, but you know, I mean, what was his old show about? I don't know, dude. It's fucking crazy. What was it about? Being a real man, baby. That's what I'm saying. I'm a real man, dude. Here, tip number 1 to get pussy. You fart on them.
Of course, have a just cause for emancipation. Not only that, but I've also...
Dylan, you should have recorded that part and showed it. I did. It's in the video.
It's
if you
in
go
the
and you watch
video,
the video,
dude.
in the video, I say on camera, it's recorded, that Hassan does not support the invasion. But he didn't watch the interview, so he just doesn't know that.
raised money for Ukrainian refugees. This community has raised $300,000.
The thing is,
Whoa.
This is how I definitely know he didn't watch the interview, because we also mentioned that. We also brought that up. We showed a clip of him saying that. And then I talked about it with them. And you want to know what they said about it?
That he's handsome.
He said that the way he was using it in conversation, as he's doing it right now, by the way, and maybe this is the most aggressive I'll get on Hassan, he's doing it right now again, he's using the money he donated as a shield. That's what the Ukrainians said in the interview. And that's also what I believe.
Of course.
I believed it, and so I asked them, how do you think he's using that? And they said they think he's using it as a shield when he brought it up on the Ethan H3H3 podcast. And so what does he do again? He uses it as a shield again to respond to critiques that he's not even responding to. He's not responding to any of the critiques that they made. He's not talking about the Kerch bridge attack. He's not talking about his commentary on Crimea. He's not talking about any of that whatsoever. He's responding to somebody that doesn't exist. He's swinging at shadows.
For Ukrainian refugees. It is so insane to do a.
I mean, can we really say that somebody who was displaced from Donetsk, right? It's insane to interview that Ukrainian refugee about what Western commentators say.
Oh, you don't agree with my stance on Israel? Want to talk about it? Sure. After this segment, you can pop in the Discord. I'll give you a couple minutes.
Is that really that insane? I just can't wrap my mind around it.
Jubilee video on this, okay? Like
Jubilee? Oh,
I can't.
is that
I don't know what to
anti-Semitic?
say. It basically.
He doesn't know what to say because he didn't watch it. That's why he doesn't know what to say, because he watched a 1 minute clip and then didn't bother watching the interview and then just started throwing aspersions at me.
It basically betrays the position that you have. Like, oh, I genuinely care about this. That's why I went out there, not because I'm like a fucking war tourist pervert.
I'm a pervert. Oh my god.
Damn, he only went out there to go after Hassan. Hassan really thinks a lot of himself. This guy only went to Ukraine to make a video about me. Damn, that's crazy.
Come out eventually. I knew it would come out eventually. My perverted activies.
Jerking
I didn't know
off.
Hassan would be the one to unmask me.
I mean, they do have a lot of webcam girls from Ukraine because that country is fucked up. So maybe if the only one there to be like, oh, yeah, how much? What's the value of your dollar? Oh, you know what? I'm gonna fuck you. You know.
What is it really that hard? If you look at my channel, like if you look at my channel and the stuff I'm covering on my YouTube channel, my main channel, my views are down tremendously. This channel made from making like $2,000 to $3,000 a month to making like $100 to $200.
Damn, man, that's rough. I thought I had a bit. I do pretty well considering. I'm surprised.
And the reason why is because I do interviews that get like 5 to 10K views, right? Like with foreign legionnaires, with soldiers.
Yeah, so what? You should still make. I mean, I guess it depends on how frequently you're posting. I guess.
Good evening and welcome.
But okay.
And I highlight Russian war crimes and document them in the first person. I didn't come out here with these people in a boat trying to film the rescue operations in Hassan because I thought it'd make great stream content. I did it because I thought it was important to document. And then I ended up documenting Russian war crimes, which reported on not only here, it was reported on in German media, it was reported on, I know the Washington Post wanted the story, but I mean, if you don't pay for the footage, you're not going to get the footage, and they didn't want to pay for the footage. I don't know what to say. So is it just because I interviewed Ukrainians about Hassan's commentary, because I interviewed Ukrainians about what Western commentators are saying about the war, an interview he didn't watch, now he can make the conclusion that I'm a pervert, I'm a psychopath, and that I don't really care because my true intentions are just to come after Hassan.
They're just
so
to
Hassan,
come.
He's the real victim here.
He's just to
He's
come.
the real victim here. I mean, this was not done because I thought it would be like fun content. I did this because I wanted to cover the conditions that rescue workers face, considering it doesn't get much coverage in mainstream press. If you check out the mainstream press, they'll talk about soldiers. They'll talk about commanders. They'll interview people who, do all sorts of things. But most of the time, the aid workers don't get much of a mention, even though they do die, and they die quite frequently. And that's how we ended up documenting the Russian army shelling and targeting aid workers trying to save civilians in Kherson.
Damn.
I didn't do this because it was fun. I
That's
did this because
fucked
I believe that it needs to be documented. I believe that journalism is the first draft of history. And if we don't have a good draft, or we have a manipulated draft, we have a draft that doesn't show what actually happened, then we're going to have a poor foundation to build a historical record of how this war was fought and who did what war crimes were committed.
And they're attacking fucking aid workers? That's insane. I mean, I don't doubt it. Hey, guys, make a treaty with the guys that are literally killing aid workers. What the hell?
And the motivations behind the people who fought in it and
What the
survived it and
fringus?
lived with this war and have to live with it for the rest of their lives. I did not come over to Ukraine to get shelled and bombed for a few $100s a month in clout. I haven't gained that much clout. In fact, I don't think I've gained any clout, really. If you
What's the value of the dollar over there, dude? Maybe a couple $100 a month is the same as making $2,000 over here. Who knows, dude? I'm just busting chops.
Transition to this content from this.
Shit, this
I would
guy's
like one day
trends.
to have a
Fuck.
big channel covering war and conflict because I believe it's important. And I don't believe that
How
the
old is
mainstream
this
media
dude?
should have a monopoly on war journalism. Anyway, Danny Blue Jeans, thank you so much for the tier 1 sub. He can think I'm a pervert if he wants to. He can think I'm a war tourist if he wants to. But he doesn't know anything about me. He didn't watch the interview. And so his opinion on this matters not at all to me.
But I went out there because I care about these people. So what am I doing? I'm like fucking using this as
Can
an
he go to Gaza next week and has his opinion on Hassan? I think that they would probably kill him before he got there.
opportunity to be like, yeah, look how bad this guy is.
That's not what we're doing this. Hassan has a gigantic audience, and his words influence his audience. His words influence what people think about the war, who people vote for, and what they're going to answer the polls.
They misinform, just by the way.
Here's when politicians make decisions about whether they're going to continue to send aid or not continue to send aid, whether people are going to go volunteer to do stuff to help Ukraine or not volunteer to go do stuff to help Ukraine. His words have impact. Having Ukrainians who want to respond to his words, by the way, it's me. See, he's just like he takes the autonomy away from Ukraine. He takes the autonomy away from the Ukrainians in this interview. It's me who like led them in as like Auntie Ethel or like some like gremlin or goblin or like some type of witch, and like I led them all into my candy house of an interview, and I convinced them, if you do this interview, the war will end and Ukraine will be saved, and then all poverty will, like, how did I convince these people to do this interview? How does that work?
I guess he's just a charming guy, because obviously if Hassan said it, it's true. He's always right.
Go to them like, hey, I hate this guy Hassan, and so we're gonna do this interview because he's an asshole. And they're like, oh, you know what? Yes, that sounds like a great idea. That's not how it worked. They want to have an impact on what Westerners think about the war. They believe that your commentary was irresponsible. And so instead of responding to their critiques of his commentary, he's instead going to critique the fact that we're listening to them at all.
Like, what the fuck? Like,
he just does not take critique very well. You know,
is it me or does he say Ukrainians? Yeah, I think I heard it too. It's funny, but
you're like, yeah, man, I was ignorant about that right sector sniper thing. Yeah, the Kerch bridge attack probably isn't a war crime, but I disagree with these Ukrainians on this, and this. He could do that in like 3, 4, 5 minutes if he actually sat down and just watched the interview, right? And he doesn't.
I mean, it's content that he could farm out of it too. That's how I'd look at it. But then also, you know, right now the hot topic is Israel-Palestine, so I don't think he has any interest doing things that aren't related to that because he's just view farming at this point.
Even show the interview, so he could ignore the questions. He could ignore the questions that he doesn't like. He could ignore the questions that
if I could turn back time.
Interview. It just calls into question why
if I could find a way.
No influence whatsoever. Burns is when you know they have more important things to do, like getting pumped. Burns is an immoral, morally corrupt, bankrupt man. Hassan has proved that today.
It's insane.
It's insane.
Burns is. I'm a Ukrainian who's been watching you for several years, and you know, as soon as you start talking about Ukraine, I completely agree with them.
That fucking got me, dude. Got him.
I don't know what that means.
That means you're dumb. You disagree with you know what the fuck you're talking about.
October 18th, 2023.
Damn.
Anyway.
They're really just that hard to listen. I'm not even looking at the chat, okay?
Damn, dude.
Take too much. I'm not even gonna bother looking at the chat.
Morally corrupt.
Damn, bro. What is this? Damn, dude.
Burns is
follows October 18th, 2023.
Doesn't seem like a very long-term follower.
They're really just that hard to listen. I'm not even looking at the chat, okay? My brain
that proves that Hassan's always right.
I'm not even gonna bother looking at the chat. Morally corrupt, bankrupt man. Man, you guys are really gifting away. I really appreciate it. Like, look at this commentary from the chat. They think you have a lot of power. I don't get it. Question mark. There's not even a moment that just like, oh, let's go watch the interview, see if it's at least worth it.
Yeah, but if you made this interview when this was like a hot topic, Dylan, of course Hassan would have watched it then. But since you didn't, why the fuck would he watch it, bro? It's not in the know right now. It's not part of the diaspora. I don't even know what that fucking word means. If I'm being real with you, I'm just saying words.
See if the interview was worth it. Like, why would they critique you? Why would Ukrainians critique you? What?
It's not in the diaphragm.
I thought leftists were all about listening to colonized people. I thought that leftists were
No
all about
way.
listening to people who are
Fuck
victims of
you.
imperialism. That's what I thought. And so instead, now it's a beef between me and Hassan. And when it should be...
Why did he call Dylan perverted? I don't know. Because he's got to use words that sound nice. He wants to fucking... I don't know. Because he's a fucking weirdo, bro.
Conversation between Ukrainians and Hassan about the type of commentary that he puts out. Very harsh critique, the critique they gave, but I mean, you haven't been particularly receptive, so what are you going to expect from them?
Anyway.
Expect these no.
Aren't there more Christian Zionists than Jewish people, full stop? Or
okay. Anyway, it's a very, honestly, it's a really sad response from Hassan.
Debate perverts.
You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make...
There are some people that are debate perverts, that's true.
Make him drink. Hassan has been giving pretty bad takes about the war since the beginning, misinformed takes, and sometimes just spreading just straight up misinformation about the war since the very beginning. These critiques are probably not going to end with this video and Ukrainians critiquing him. If you look at the reply to the post that I made talking about the video, you can look at all the Ukrainians in the replies who are talking about like, hey, I appreciate
my balls
these
itch,
Ukrainians being platformed,
you know?
Or hey, I agreed with this Ukrainian on this, or I agree with this Ukrainian on that. It's not just me going out there hunting for Ukrainians to go start a beef with a streamer I don't like. It's Ukrainians who in one instance at least came to me and started talking about Hassan. Then I said, is this something that you would want to talk about? And they said yes. And then we got some other people, and then we did an interview. It's not that I'm out here hunting for Dunkaroos. It's that Hassan
I'm
has messed
hungry
up so much, and his videos have been shared so widely because he has so much influence, even though I think he might want to disregard that influence. He has so much influence that people outside his country, including the countries he talk about, hear his takes.
Okay.
So they wanted to respond. And if you believe that I'm just hunting,
is
all I have to say
this a
look at the
poggers
replies
moment,
to the
chat?
video I actually posted.
Chat,
Look
is
at
this a
all the
poggers moment?
including Ukrainian soldiers currently in service.
What about Mr. Information? True, you're right.
Responding to the channel, to the video.
What
on my
about
channel,
Mrs. Information? Am I right?
saying, Man, I really disagree with Hassan on this. Man, I really disagree with Hassan on that. Hey, I really appreciated what Anna said here. Man, I really appreciate what Anna said there. It seems that the Ukrainians don't have a problem with it. So don't get angry on their behalf for no reason like I use them. It's not that I went hunting. It's that there are just a lot of Ukrainians that don't agree with you. And that's something you have to accept. That the people who are being colonized in this
then
war
obviously
think
they're all perverted if they don't agree with him. And,
your commentary has not been muy bueno. Not all of them, but a lot of them.
If I can turn back time. All right, that's the video. Cool beans, man.